This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2.
Welcome to DBL. It is Friday.
What's going on?
We made it July 23rd. I'm Tori. I'm here with Lindsay and Brandon, and I just want to let everyone know we got new chairs.
And I don't know, because like my arms, it's like a chill. Should I lay back? Like, I don't know what to do.
Sitting on the scene with the gangster.
This is amazing.
Fancy over here, huh?
It really is for women. This is so much more comfortable, so we really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. All right, the Tokyo Games are officially underway, but it's a lot different than past years, and people don't seem as excited as usual. The opening ceremony was meant to unite and inspire people all over the world after a period of isolation due to COVID. And the Parade of Nations took place before an empty stadium. So even so, organizers tried to make the opening ceremonies exciting. They used more than 1,800 drones, to form a giant rotating Earth. But what really stood out inside the arena were some of the country's uniforms. So let's talk, all right? Team USA wore Ralph Lauren and Rock the Yacht Club look with their blazer and scarves. They always go kind of preppy.
That looks very USA-ish.
It's very preppy, yes. The Canadians, they just wore a simple red jacket. And poor Italy, some were saying Giorgio Armani's creation looks like Pac-Man ate the Italian flag, then got ill all over a white shirt. Only 950 people got to watch the opening ceremonies, and the Tokyo Games are being called the loneliest games ever. That doesn't need to be the name. No. With no spectators, athletes will be performing in front of almost 70,000 empty seats. Now, the opening ceremonies weren't a celebration for everyone, though. Hundreds of people gathered outside to protest the games, concerned that they will turn into a super spreader event since the pandemic is not over. More than 100 people at the games have already tested positive.
Let's go protest a super spreader event by super spreading. I don't get that. You're marching in the streets, you're right by each other. Just because you have a mask on doesn't mean that you're not going to give the disease or give the virus away. But here's where I am with this. Everyone, after the last year and a half, we've had to do some sort of hybrid system when it comes to our award shows. We've done that from home. The sporting events. We had the NBA championship last year in a bubble. Everyone's had to adapt. So by this time, if you're still protesting and you're upset about the Olympics, instead of trying to just take it for what it is and realizing this is the chance for 200 plus countries from around the world to compete to see who's the best. Now, for the athletes, who cares? You don't care that there's no one in the stands anymore. You are representing your country. So the fans need to take a step back, realize, yes, we are not out the pandemic yet, but we are trying to give you some sort of entertainment. We're still trying to unify or unite. So I think people need to chill when it comes to, you're just trying to find a reason to be outraged.
I understand that, but the entertainment factor could cost people's lives. So I understand why you'd protest, because the stakes are so high. I'm glad athletes are enjoying who's best at who. I'd rather see grandma at next Thanksgiving.
Tori, why we had the Super Bowl. 80-something thousand people out there.
I think they're protesting the way in which this was handled in Tokyo specifically. Lindsay, what do you think?
Yep. I think that we could definitely have waited a year.
I know.
So for the Olympics?
May I? And I think that Bob Costas, who's been leading the Olympics coverage for NBC since 1988, agrees with that statement. He did a whole interview about that, about people haven't gotten vaccinated to the degree that we need them to. We're putting people in danger. And I think it's important that if we would have just pushed this a year, I don't think these athletes, you being an amazing athlete, would lose all of their stamina and all of their ability to compete in one more year. And we could have gotten to a place where people are more comfortable getting the vaccine, because I disagree with Tori that it should be mandated right now. I think we should go through more stages where pregnant women and people with different pre-existing conditions have been tested enough that it's okay.
I do accept medical exceptions to my mandate. I want to make sure people know that, because people have been tweeting me. Yeah. I absolutely think there should be medical exceptions.
Right, and so I think in another year, if we got this far in 1 year, then next year we will be working wonders, and we can have an Olympics that we can actually enjoy the opening ceremony with dances and pageantry and not a globe glowing up in the air like a nightlight.
Y'all are thinking too much of the fandom of it. It's about the competition aspect.
But it's also about people's lives.
But where you understand, these athletes are getting tested on a daily basis. My work with the New York Giants last year, when I was shooting remotely from New Jersey, for me to even walk into the facility, I did 3 PCR tests.
I tested already on the plane and had to stop.
And a lot of NFL players did get COVID, so let's not ignore that big fact.
I understand that, but it's not like we're working at your daily day job.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, all right, let's move on. I want to hear about this because we got more Olympics talking, all right? Some of this year's competing athletes defy age norms. Australian equestrian, great word, by the way, and grandmother Mary Hannah is proving that age is just a number. She's 66. And this is her 7th time participating in the games.
I like her outfit.
Nice.
Everything about that is very cool. But get this, this is the youngest person competing in Tokyo. It's a Syrian table tennis player, Hend Zaza. She is 12 years old.
12?
What were y'all doing at 12?
I think at both 66 and 12, like 66, I'm not even going to be able to, I barely can exercise.
Get on a
now.
horse.
Exactly. And then at 12, I definitely was just being an annoying kid.
Like, imagine being a prodigy at that sport. Was it table tennis? Was that it? I just want to make sure I get it right. Table tennis. Imagine
tennis.
being like
Are
that.
you good at table tennis?
I am awesome. I am not.
No.
I was like, what?
But I love the fact that like how much younger these athletes are getting, and in terms of like being the best in their field. Like what were we talking about Coco Gauff? We're talking about like, what was 16 and she beat Serena.
12
like,
seems young though, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, to be in the Olympics.
I thought there was like a cutoff.
No, I don't. Just be
If
the
I have
best.
dreams about my kid, I told you it's going to be like the science fair winner at 5, the TED Talk speaker
Oh my
at
God.
7, the 12-year-old Olympian.
Lower
my
your
standards.
expectations, Lizzie.
Brandon's like, I
Lower
would
your-
hate for you to be my mom.
Yeah, lower those. I just want to be someone who cheers at the Olympics. That's all I want. Before we go to break, we have to give a DBL shout out to Tonga's shirtless flag bearer. Remember this guy? Huh?
Oh, Photoshop.
Very
ads.
oiled up. He carried the flag at the 2016 and the 2018 games. And Al had some opinions about this guy. Take a look.
Now, Jeff, I did some research. His name is Pita Tatatafua, which means sorry about your sheets, bro. The last time I saw that much oil on a mammal, Exxon was involved. Think about it.
Remember those segments? I love those segments.
Can we bring those back? I don't think I was here for that.
So good.
Al sounds off. was
Al
hilarious. That was
sounds
hilarious.
off. They
But
were
do
great.
You smell a little jealousy in there?
No, yes, actually. I'll
I think for us all, like that's a full 8-pack.
That's like, you can clearly see
You can
the
wash
definition.
clothes.
Shirtless, but if a woman was shirtless and I said something, I'd get in trouble. I'd be canceled.
No, we see Kim Kardashian and J-Lo all the time, and we say, oh, looking beautiful at this age.
But I will,
And I
and
like
I
the
hate to
pick.
be that person to bring us to Bummertown right before commercial. I agree, there is a double standard. I should hold myself accountable to
You
be better.
should.
Oh, get the violins. This is not the
All
segment for that, okay?
Easy. Coming up on DBL, the William Shatner. Can you believe he's 90 and definitely not slowing down? We've got the scoop on his brand new show. And yes, Kanye West launched his new music, but there seems to be one problem. Fans can't find it. Where is it? Stay tuned.
Closed captioning provided by
What's up, guys? So, I'm someone that just really likes the Olympics. I watch a lot of figure skating, gymnastics. My mom and I watch.
Oh, it's not winter.
No, I know, but I'm not.
But that's my favorite.
But what's bumming me out is when I perform stand-up and Al performs stand-up, there's a difference in like the amount of people in the crowd. Okay, so when Al performs stand-up, there's like a raucous sound. Okay, and when I perform stand-up, there's like a like you can hear people eating nachos. That's what like this crowd felt like, that it's like so empty that it's sad.
But you were comparing apples to oranges,
I know.
whereas as a stand-up comic, you feed off the crowd in that sense.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
your
Athletes,
next
you don't
joke.
think they do?
It's when you're running track.
Come on, when they're
when
screaming,
you're running
when they're
track
screaming.
and you're 8 lanes, you're in your
don't think-
lane 3.
Brandon, when your
and you
crowd
know,
is screaming and messing up,
you do
Why
not,
did
you
Giannis
do
miss all those
not-
free throws?
He did not. He went 17 for 19 because he blocked out the crowd. That's the thing.
But it's because
He was 17 for 19. So let's not talk about Giannis missing 3 free throws because he did not. Okay? 17
I barked up the wrong tree, and I have no rebuttal because I don't know.
You're trained to block the fans
Then why
out
do they call it the
anyway.
fifth man? You know, like isn't it called
Because
the fifth
for
man? The court, right? The crowd is the fifth guy in the court.
6th man or the 12th man if it's a football game.
I was off by one.
you know,
Sorry.
and you know, to be binary, the 12th person.
Very
we're
good,
gonna
Brandon.
do that. This is where we are.
Very
but
good,
you're
Brandon.
trained to block it out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I hear
they're
you.
not there anyway.
And my sole purpose is to make them laugh in comedy, right?
Yeah, so it's different.
I'm just telling you, and it's an atmosphere and a vibe that's
I
never
understand it. I know what you mean, but when
just
you're
feels
running
weird.
track, who cares about the crowd? It's all about that 9.6 you need
Usain
to put
Bolt
up.
like feeds off of the crowd. Not that he won't.
You feed off of not getting beat.
What do you guys think?
Welcome back to DBL. Kanye West held a bizarre listening party for his long-awaited album, Donda. Now, the album is named after Kanye's late mother, Donda West, who died in 2007. 42,000 fans paid between $20 and $100 to attend the party in Atlanta. It was also live streamed on Apple Music, but get this, Kanye showed up more than 2 hours late. He was wearing a full face mask. He didn't say anything to the crowd. He moved around the floor while his music played over the speakers. At one point, Kanye appeared to get emotional during his song Love Unconditionally, where he does rap about losing his family. His ex, Kim Kardashian, was also there along with their 4 kids. She posted this video from the event on Instagram. But here's the thing. All right, and I got a new chair back so I can do this to show you. His album's nowhere to be found on Apple Music, Spotify, or any other streaming platforms. What do we think about this? I think it's brilliant.
Just like you had to wait for him to show up 2 hours late, we may have to wait 2 weeks before he drops the album because
2
we're
weeks?
talking. I don't know. I was just
No, 2 weeks is out of line.
2 hours.
If you say
2 days.
tomorrow, fine.
Like,
2 weeks.
It's Kanye West. It's Yeezy. The man just showed he can do whatever he wants. The man came out and said slavery was a choice.
Yeah, that
wasn't doing. No, everybody was
okay, and everybody wanted to cancel him. But he just had 42,000 fans with the Atlanta Falcons play. We're not talking about a hole in the wall, like juke joint down the block. Like, the man is still, he's powerful. He's the Michael Jackson of our time.
He definitely is.
Careful with Michael Jackson. We also have
I'm just
issues
talking
there.
about the star
No,
power
I
when
hear
it
you.
comes
I'm
to
just worried because at some point, some people did want to cancel Kanye. Is he canceled? Is he not? And is this marketing strategy just not like the coolest?
That's what I want to talk about, his marketing strategy.
Right?
Because he had Sha'Carri Richardson in the ad collaboration with Nike and Apple
Beats.
Music.
Yep.
So Sha'Carri, that she had the weed issue, but she lost her biological mother. Kanye lost his mother.
Donda, right,
And his whole album is named Donda. It's like, everything about this album seems like intentional. And the fact that he started sobbing on the floor, crying about losing his family, it seems very dramatic also. So I think we're going to get a dramatic album. Also, he had a relationship that was very strained with Jay-Z for a while. And Jay-Z's actually on the album.
Yes,
and so
he
if there's a better, I don't know a better marketing strategy. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, release this thing. What did Jay-Z say? Because it seems like Jay-Z also is not a person that holds many bars.
That's
so,
right.
Literally. So,
I can't wait
I'm excited about it. He doesn't have 2 weeks in my mind. I'm over it in 2 weeks. He has 2 days.
But how about Kim Kardashian showing up? That was big. That's awesome.
But
I love her.
at the end of the day, it's still your family.
I know, but not for everybody. Like, good for them.
And we've always said, like, the Kardashians, they'll support that ex. They stick around. Khloe was there for Lamar and this bedside. Like, at least that's what it looks like.
I agree with you, Brandon.
With the image. So crying that your family was there, there's a lot.
I also think that Kim Kardashian and the whole family wants to be at the biggest event of the year. Let's just call a spade also. That was the biggest event, one of the biggest events of the year for music.
Yes.
So.
But it made a statement that she was there, I believe.
Yes, I want to be seen. I'm matching Kanye. We're both wearing red.
All right, easy. All right. Coming up on DBL, legendary actor William Shatner. This special Chatting with the Stars is coming up, and it's very cool.
Increase increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, with 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Rob is so graceful. All right, welcome back to DBL. At 90 years old, you heard me right, William Shatner is nowhere near slowing down. He's digging deep into life's most fascinating and unanswered questions. It's all part of his new show, I Don't Understand. Earlier, we spoke with him about it in today's Chatting with the Stars.
What constitutes a lie? If I tell you I'm fine when I'm not, is that a lie? Is there a way to detect deception? I'm William Shatner, and I don't understand.
All right, you just heard a sneak peek of the legendary William Shatner and his brand new show, I Don't Understand. Thank you so much for coming on DBL.
Yes, we do.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure it is to look at all of you.
Oh.
Yes.
But mostly me. I'm a beautiful man.
You're all beautiful in your way.
Thank you. Yes, we feel seen and heard by you. Okay, so William, we love the concept of your new show. You're trying to answer
Isn't
the
it
most.
wild?
It is. It's great to because we can play along with you, right? You're trying to answer the most fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And timely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially because these are timely questions that pique everyone's interest.
Anything I don't understand, like, for example, how is it possible that you're 40? I don't understand.
Yes.
Brownie points for Shatner.
He did the shoulder reset.
I like it. Tell us a little bit more about the show. So for our viewers right now that have not heard about it.
Well, I mean, that's it. The idea of the show is things I don't understand.
You're talking to the right guy.
Why they don't
the right guy.
That's the right guy. Why are you wearing a red handkerchief in your breast pocket?
It's pink.
It's pink.
It's pink. And it goes with my lavender shirt.
William, please tell us what you're thinking, because they criticize my outfits all the time, William. So why did you ask just that?
No, you don't understand. I'm not criticizing.
Oh.
I'm asking the question.
I think he's being complimentary, and he wants to wear that to his next event. Am I right?
I don't think so. Nope.
That's exactly right. I've never understood why how pink looks good on a man, and now I understand.
And now you understand.
Well, wait till you see Al. He's dripping in pink, and I love it. I say pink is punk.
Yeah, well, dripping, yeah.
See, now
it.
this is a good use of pink.
Thank you. I have the pink watch.
Show him your pants.
Oh, yeah, stand up.
And the pink
Look at this. He's going to Cape Cod to a boil, sir.
Yeah. All right. Little Heisman pose.
I don't understand that outfit.
Is there a question that you couldn't answer? Like you're like, I don't understand this, and there is no answer. Was there anything that was unanswerable?
Like this question.
Well, it's a conversation. It's a conversation with a so-called expert.
Okay.
Now, for example, one of the first shows, and I don't know the order they're in when they broadcast them, is about lying. I don't know how I came upon that, but why do we lie? So there was an expert on lying. She had a book out, and a guy would start speaking to her about lying, lies of omission, and then it evolved
I've hurt my shoulder falling
into
off.
is religion a lie? And all of a sudden we're talking about and we're talking about loss of faith. And do you see through a lie if you lose your faith and you say, wait a minute, you know, I'm a choir boy and something, and was the loss of faith. And now you're into the big lie. And it's no longer just lies of omission, or I didn't say that, or I did say that. It's the big lie, the big omission.
It got deep.
Why do we lie? It has all kinds of ramifications. So that's the nature of the show. You can ask a simple question, but if you follow the pathway of the conversation, it suddenly branches off, and suddenly you're on a cliff, looking over unquestionable masses. You're on the edge of a thing. It's, where do I go next with this question?
You know,
and it becomes an adventure.
William, I'm sitting here and I'm realizing why you are the perfect person to host this show. We live in an era where everything is, there's a ton of interview shows, there's a ton of question and answer shows, but every time an interviewer asks a question, a lot of times it seems like they have an agenda. You seem to ask questions with a genuine curiosity, which is very disarming, and I think viewers are going to love that.
That's a very insightful comment, in that that's exactly right. I'm only asking questions of people and elements that I don't understand. I really have a genuine curiosity about. I'm talking to people that I think are exciting. I'm talking, and it's not an interview per se. It's a conversation. Like, what did you do, and how did you feel, and what did you... I don't understand and would love to discover.
Well said by Captain Kirk, huh?
I know. Right. I can't wait. I don't understand how he's 90. You look fantastic.
Yeah.
You can watch William Shatner's new show, I Don't Understand. It's out now on portable TV. William, thank you so much. Real quickly, is this the best interview that you've ever...
He's a joy.
Hands down, best interview?
That's because they're wearing pink.
Bye, William. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the 2 Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariane Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Welcome back to DBL. There's a hidden heart problem that's claiming the lives of men, and it's happening at an alarming rate. Oh, no. We're chatting about it in DBL's Focus on Fitness, presented by QB. We all know if you want a healthy heart, you need to work out. Well, according to Men's Health, atrial fibrillation, you might have heard it as AFib, right, is killing more Americans than ever before. So if you don't know what it is, it's a heart rhythm disorder that increases your risk of having a stroke or a heart attack. And statistically, the numbers are higher among black men. So what can be done about the silent killer? Of course, always check in with your doctor, eat a heart-healthy diet, and exercise, exercise, exercise. Staying active is so important, and QB has made it easy regardless of your ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-782-2351 or visit QB.com to learn more. If y'all didn't know, recently a soccer player went into full cardiac arrest on the pitch, and they ran over, and because there was an AFib machine there, they gave CPR, he's alive, and it is an incredible thing. So if you don't have an AFib machine in your office, advocate to get one.
A lot of people do. A lot of companies and businesses, it's standard, but I think we just walk by it because we never really have to use it. I don't think people really understand what that machine does.
Yeah, get to know it, get to know where it is, because it can save a life. We hope you have a great weekend. Be safe. DBL is new every day. We will see you Monday, same time, same place, Linz?
Same place.
Same place, people. Have a great weekend. Bye.
we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Let the Summer Games begin. DBL Nation, are you excited about watching, or are this year's events already a big fail? Then, our Beyond the Medal series continues with history-making gymnast Gabby Douglas. She gets a 10, 10 out of 10. Yeah. She landed. Plus, Morgan Wallin's first sit-down interview since he was caught using a racial slur.
So do you understand why it makes black people so upset?
And actor Emil Hirsch has the scoop on his favorite A-list co-stars.
He's absolutely hysterical, and he's got a great sense of humor.
Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Oh my gosh, we're already off to a good start over here. Welcome to DBL. It is Friday, July 23rd. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Erica, and Tori. Let's get started. So, the Tokyo Games are officially underway, but it's a lot different than the past years, and people don't seem as excited as usual. The opening ceremony was meant to unite and inspire people after isolation due to COVID, but the Parade of Nations took place before an empty stadium. Even so, organizers tried to make the opening ceremonies exciting and used more than 1,800 drones to form a giant rotating Earth. Only 950 people got to watch the ceremony in person. And the Tokyo Games are being called the loneliest games ever, with no spectators and in front of 70,000 empty seats. The opening ceremonies weren't a celebration for everyone, though. Hundreds of people gathered outside to protest the games, concerned that they will turn into a super spreader event. More than 100 people at the games have already tested positive. Okay, so Jeff, what did you, one, think of the empty stadium? We've never seen that before. It felt apocalyptic to me. And then what did you think of the protest?
Okay, there's a couple things to unravel here. The protest, those are exactly the idiots on Twitter that write to you about how you're living your life. They don't want to spread COVID, but they're all together in a group. It makes no sense. It's ironic. I want to focus on the positive. That globe, that was impressive.
Was it?
Yes.
Those were all drones.
Oh, that gave me chills.
That was super cool.
Did we all watch the Beijing Olympics to see how wonderful? I mean, I think this was a little.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at how cool. Those are
I thought that was
drones.
incredible.
That's very impressive.
I like the Olympics.
That's very impressive. I'm very excited about that. My boss just told me to relax a little bit.
I think he was telling me. No, I think he was telling me.
I thought it was me because I get very excited.
I was excited with you.
Okay, thank you. It's Friday. We got to get a little excited. But as far as the empty seats, people are like, this is the loneliest ever. They're putting on the games. We're trying to move forward and get past this pandemic. The UFC went with nobody in the stands. They still competed. They still fought.
Basketball.
We could do that with the Olympics too. Got to have the cup half full. We got to look at things with the cup half full.
Well, also remember what the mood and the ideas were like for athletes last year. You know, like you train your entire life for something and it's just postponed out of nowhere. Like that's just got to be mentally debilitating. And the fact that we're even getting this, like maybe it wasn't as grand as the Beijing Olympics, which apparently was the creme de la creme according to Tori. Okay,
they were.
Nothing touches Beijing.
No, the drummers, y'all remember?
Yeah. But I think for what it was and under the circumstances, I think that this is a major world celebration that they're even able to congregate in this way, and they're trying to do it as safely as possible. This is going to be the litmus test for so many things internationally as how they'll be handled post-COVID. So I think that this is a wonderful thing. And I love the globe, too. I mean,
okay, let me just say this. I love the globe. Okay, let me just say one thing.
Don't say you love the globe.
Yeah,
you said you didn't.
I liked the globe. Fair. Here's the thing. I wish they just would have waited a year. Because I think this is a bad idea.
Tell that to the athletes, though.
Right.
So wait a year because I'm worried more about your life than your athletic competition. Yes.
Tori Shulman.
You think 1 year is going to make someone who's a great athlete?
Are you kidding me? Have you ever competed?
You think 1 year will make someone absolutely not be able to be in the Olympics?
Okay. Let me talk, because this is, listen, these athletes have, coming from a former athlete who was at the Olympic level, these athletes have poured in their blood, sweat, and tears to compete. Now, the ones that got canceled a year ago, a lot of them aren't able to go now because you have to still qualify in the Olympic trials for the Olympics. Depending on the sport, top 1 and 2 people. So even if you're the #1 person in the world for 5 years in a row, if you don't compete a few months ago at your best level at the Olympic trials, you're not going. So the people that may have qualified last year aren't the same ones that got to go this year.
Which I hear
now,
you.
As far as the COVID goes, I totally agree with you, but don't take that away from the athletes. If anything, maybe mandate the vaccine. Maybe there's exceptions for those that can't be vaccinated because of circumstances we're not aware of. However, though, I don't think that you can tell athletes to postpone it yet another year just because there's not people.
And she's
in the
a drone globe hater.
First of all, I just want to say this. The reason I love athletes, I'm looking out because you guys are like, this, you can't miss a year.
So
I'm worried
the vaccine.
Wait, let me finish. I'm worried about their lives. And that to me is more important. I think this bringing everybody in from all different countries is the exact thing Fauci is saying we don't do. And now people, like Jeff said, are protesting it, bringing even more people. People in Tokyo don't want these games.
Don't you think they could have done it similar to the NBA in a bubble? They could have. So maybe.
But have a year to organize it and do it right.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
You're concerned about their lives, but you also need to consider their mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever run into someone or known someone intimately who's been a lifelong athlete and their career is over, those like next few years are very delicate. So what
I'd rather them
to
have those
someone-
years than be sick.
Right, but you don't understand then.
Yeah.
Because that is their life.
I hear you both. I do. I just think.
What about
I wish
me?
it was. You didn't say anything. I just wish we were all doing it a little more
I agree
organized.
with that.
Yeah.
That I can agree with you.
Okay.
That was sexist, and she's a globe hater.
She did say she hated the globe.
I did.
And
say
men, pretty
that.
much. She just ignored my points.
You said nothing, Jeff.
Okay, so continuing on with the Olympics, some of the year's competing athletes defy age norms. Australian equestrian and grandmother Mary Hannah is proving that age is just a number. She's 66, you guys. She's a grandma, and this is her 7th time participating in the games. Look at her. But get this, the youngest person competing in Tokyo is Syrian table tennis player Hen Zaza. She's just 12 years old. And I know we don't have the picture of Amanda Beard, but I was hoping we could have it, because if you remember in 96, and I described the picture because then you'll remember, she was like 13, maybe 14, but had just turned 14. But you remember she was carrying around her teddy bear everywhere? She was a swimmer, so of course I know her. But that juxtaposition, because the pressure of the world stage at 12 or 13, and then you see an Olympian carrying around her teddy bear, that's what it reminded me of. But at 12, what were you doing at 12?
Not going to the Olympics, I'll tell you that. Not even close. But yeah, I think if you grow up in that atmosphere or grow up with parents like that, and you get to see the next level competition, it really has an impact on you, and obviously it does.
And if you start young, right?
Yeah.
I think I would have handled a lot of things far better at 12 than I do at 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a very fearless child. You know, like I would just do things. People were like, okay, just let her do it. Because you don't understand ramifications
I kind of with you.
So it's like, you know, ignorance is bliss in that respect, and I mean that very respectfully.
Yeah, I just remember at 12, I had no concept of boys and girls at that point. I was just becoming into it. So I had the asymmetrical haircut, the sports goggles, and the double retainer, and life was just like, cool. Like I just enjoyed, really. I had no concept of.
What was Tori's hobbies?
I like to play make-believe. I like to do a lot of bicycle riding, and we would make potions and things.
That's really cool.
Because we didn't have phones. I'm telling you, this is an analog kid's life. You play in the dirt. You go out till the street lights come on. What?
I know, it sounds like a very exciting childhood.
Thank you.
Can we have a picture? Please? Can we have a picture of Tori?
You should write a book.
Well, I think growing up without any expectations on you and technology makes for a really fearless childhood. You didn't have to worry. It was lovely.
I'll just push back a little bit, even though I agree that at 12 it may be ignorance is bliss, but at the same time, we heard Summer Sanders say you got to be in the zone. You can be in the best shape of your life. If you go there and you're not mentally stable enough to picture yourself on the podium, you'll freeze up, no matter what shape you're in. So I pray that this 12-year-old is like a little Erica Cobb and kills it and takes home a gold. Coming up on DBL, Morgan Wallen's first sit-down interview since he was caught using a racial slur. Does he own up to it? And our interview with actor Emil Hirsch. Find out the A-list co-star he says is the funniest on set. Plus Dr. Coley, she's here in the studio clearing up COVID confusion. Is it time to mask up again?
Closed captioning provided by
Hi, DBL Nation. Happy Friday. Ooh, we're having a little technical difficulties over here. I hope you can hear me. It is Kelly Schubert here with the DBL Digital team. Let's go ahead and make our way up to the desk as we get ready for Dr. Coley. She is going to answer all our questions about coronavirus. How are you guys doing?
And we're going to talk about how globophobia is impacting Tori's life.
First of all, watch this. Not only am I getting made fun of, I'm also getting kicked out for Dr. Coley, who's almost better than I
am on the show. My bosses agree.
Almost.
All right, okay. No, I'm saying she should take a panelist side.
Yes, I'm glad I told you all to keep the volume down.
I know, right?
Oh yeah, so the calm, so Bert was very sensitive. That was nice that you did come up to, I didn't need it, but he said the calm down was the volume. But I understood the note. But if you say calm down to like a woman, oh.
I don't think calm down.
Bert tells me to calm down all the time.
What's the difference between, if I'm like, hey, you gotta calm down a
Because
little
he's my
bit. Like,
boss.
you gotta relax a little
He's
bit.
my boss.
What's the difference?
He's my boss.
No, I'm saying, she just said.
In the history of people telling you to calm down, no woman has ever calmed down.
But Sam's
I totally
giving
agree with Sam. Yeah, I totally agree with Sam. Relax.
Wait,
is just
no
like,
one heard you because Tori jumped in front of you.
So we were saying that to Jeff's point, calm down and relax mean the same thing. I
Right.
don't know why relax is more triggering to me. Maybe
Same with me.
because in the past, the people that were like relax
Yes.
use that word and not calm down.
And you're not
Is it the
saying it like
tone?
that.
Yes,
either.
it's the tone.
What if I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, you gotta calm down, or if
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, you gotta relax.
Tone. It's all tone.
But if I like relax,
Yes.
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 or, but
Agreed.
so if I go, you gotta calm down.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
the same.
it's the same
He's right.
thing. Yeah. It's all tone. I think
in
you're
the
exactly
past, they've
right.
been synonymous
Yes.
with a lot of
I
women.
totally agree
It's
with you.
never like, hey, relax, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
In the past,
It's
at
like,
least,
relax.
Yeah, it's more like, whoa, relax.
Yeah.
Are you on your period?
Yeah, totally. That is what
You
it's
went,
like.
whoa.
Wait, what's the Nick Cage one?
That's it. But you went, whoa.
DBL Nation, happy Friday. Dr. Coley is coming up next. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to DBL. As much as we'd like to put the pandemic behind us, the variants and recent rise in COVID-19 cases continue to cause major concern. And our medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is here to help keep us up to date with the latest information. Okay, so Dr. Kohli, thank you so much for being here. And a lot of our viewers are confused. So we need you to clarify. What's driving right now the increase in COVID-19 cases?
You know, we have created the perfect recipe for cases to go up. So think about it. Vaccination rates have dropped off. There's a new, more contagious version of the virus, and the masks have come off. So it's literally like driving your car with the accelerator and no brakes.
Scary.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Kohli, with the potential need for a booster for people who are vaccinated, people who aren't vaccinated might say the vaccine's not even working against this new variant. Could you explain that?
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. So the booster is really just meant to sort of, it's almost like going to the gym for our immune system. It's meant to flex its muscle. It's meant to teach it the new variant and how to fight it a little bit better. That doesn't mean that the vaccine is not working against the variant. It just means we need to boost the response that we have.
Let me have a follow-up question as well.
Please.
For somebody on the fence, because we talk about this a lot on our show, you're not going to change somebody's mind that doesn't ever want to get that vaccine, right? But for somebody that's on the fence that might have had a family member or close friend, what would you tell them to push them over that edge to say, you're going to want to get this vaccine?
I would say 99% of the deaths that are occurring right now are in unvaccinated individuals. This has become the pandemic of the unvaccinated. And if those unvaccinated individuals met us halfway and got the vaccine, we'd be done. We'd be done with those masks. We'd be done with the social distancing. We'd be done with the restrictions.
Wow. Okay, so you know what my follow-up question is going to be, because this has been the #1 thing people have been saying to me. There are people who got the vaccine and they're still getting COVID. So, I mean, and that's the thing. So how do you combat that? But also, is it necessary to go back to masks because of that reason?
So great point and great question. We know that no vaccine is 100%. We expect some breakthrough cases. But using that argument is sort of like saying seat belts don't work because people can still get injured in car accidents. Seat belts dramatically reduce the risk of dying in a car accident. But yes, you can still have injury, and that's exactly what's happening. So there are some breakthrough cases that are occurring in the community, but they're occurring because there's so much virus. They're not occurring because the vaccines are failing.
And for some of the people, the few people that are getting the breakthrough cases, they're more likely to be asymptomatic or less symptoms, right? They're not the ones that are being hospitalized in the ICU.
That's exactly right. In fact, we're thinking we're even underdiagnosing the number of breakthrough cases because a lot of people don't even have symptoms when they get a breakthrough case, which is really what we wanted all along with this vaccine, was to turn it from a deadly condition
to something like the flu that you can get. You can, you know, still live with your life and not have any consequences like your poor Eric does.
I know, which you've been an absolute lifesaver for our family. But somebody wrote in yesterday, and it actually broke my heart because they were saying, I'm sick and tired of being lumped in, and I'm just paraphrasing. I'm sick and tired of being lumped into people that can't get the vaccine or won't get the vaccine. I can't get the vaccine. And I don't know this woman's circumstances, but can you elaborate how all of us hopefully getting the vaccine with herd immunity, it protects people like her or our children or Eric who can't get the vaccine because of his double lung transplant?
We are the shield, you guys. We're the shield for people who can't yet get the vaccine, like our kids under 12, or the people who can't ever get the vaccine because of their medical conditions. And if the virus can't find a host, it's going to die out. By not getting vaccinated, we're giving it the opportunity to find a host. And by putting those masks on, we are preventing it from spreading as efficiently as you had said, Erica.
Even if you're vaccinated, should you be wearing masks?
This is different now, and the answer is yes. So, you know, I never took my mask off, ever. But for a lot of my patients, I told them if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask. But now that we have so many Delta cases, that mask needs to come back on just for the time being.
All right. Wow. You heard it from our doctor here. If you have a question about coronavirus you want answered by Dr. Coley, write us on social media. You can also email info@dailyblastlive.com. We will be right back.
Increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, with 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Welcome back to DBL. Actor Emile Hirsch is best known for movies like Into the Wild and The Girl Next Door. Earlier, Lindsay, Tori, and I spoke with Emile about his new movie, and we get the scoop on the Hollywood legends he's worked with. That's today's Chatting with the Stars. Emile, welcome to DBL. So you're a busy man. Midnight in the Switchgrass isn't your only movie release this year. And on top of that, this spring you released an album. But I've heard you don't like actors who do music, even though that's exactly what you're doing. So what makes Emile the unicorn?
Well, I don't know that I am the unicorn. I just, you know, traditionally, whenever I hear an actor making an album or doing music, I listen to it and I usually don't like it.
I woke up falling yesterday.
But I always tell people, I'm like, you know, I like making music because I don't like actor music, and I do it despite that, like all the humiliation I'll put myself through it.
That's when you know you're really, really determined. All right, you've worked with some Hollywood legends like Sean Penn, Brad Pitt, Leo, we're super close, Leo DiCaprio, of course, and now Bruce Willis. Which is the funniest one on set? Like, which one do you just have the most fun with? And do you have any fun stories to spill?
Well, Leo is definitely the funniest. Really? He's absolutely hilarious. I mean, any of his comedic performances, like Wolf of Wall Street, he's absolutely hysterical, and he's he's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, that's hands down Leo's the funniest. That's not even close, I'd say.
And by Tori saying she's close with Leo, she means she saw him.
I saw him like down the street once. So we were close in proximity, Emil. Come on now. Is there an actor though or actress you're dying to work with next? Is there someone you've always had on your bucket list?
I've always wanted to work with Meryl Streep. I know everybody says that, but I saw her do a radio play that Charlie Kaufman wrote at UCLA probably like 12 years ago, and it was just so interesting, and I feel like she's like the best, so I think that would be a blast to work with Meryl Streep.
Well, actually, I am Meryl Streep.
Wow. Sorry, Emil. We apologize.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Midnight in the Switchgrass. So this movie is sure to have everyone on the edge of their seats. So what did you love most about your role in this film?
So my character is Byron Crawford. He's a homicide detective who's been trying to solve these unsolved murders.
Some people, they just think that the girls, you know, the hookers and the druggies, they got what they had coming.
What do you believe?
A hard-looking life don't make you any less of a human.
I just didn't want it to be like, you know, another, you know, chip on his shoulder atheist cop or something like that. I wanted you to really I wanted to get to the meat of what motivated this guy. So it really felt like a good versus evil kind of movie, you know?
And Emil, you seem very particular about the roles you choose, about your method of doing things. So how do you get into a role?
I've done it like every way. I've done, you know, where I just show up and I make it up on the spot. Wow. And then I've done things where I'm sitting around researching forever and I feel like I'm, you know, in a college course or something. I've tried it all ways, and I sort of enjoy not having any particular set system. It sort of makes it more fun for me.
Smart.
One of the last movies I did, I worked in Guatemala, and I wrapped this movie on a Saturday, and I flew on Sunday, and then I had another movie that I started on a Monday.
Oh, Lord.
And it was like, I was just like flying international, and then I landed and I did a wardrobe fitting, and then I show up on Monday and Kate Bosworth's looking at me like, hi. And I'm like, hey, okay, action. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But I have to say, like, I love that.
It sounds freeing, and I think now when viewers watch you in your roles, we can kind of see, wow, this is him like completely improvising to a degree, which just speaks to your talent. So viewers, Midnight in the Switchgrass opens in theaters, on demand, and digital today. Emil, thank you so much for joining us. You'll have to come back one day. We'll be right back.
Yes. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the 2 Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariane Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Monday on DBL, a woman born into a family on the run.
We were stopped by armed soldiers with guns for trying to cross the border.
How she went from international fugitive to fashion model. That's Monday on DBL.
Welcome back to DBL. So earlier we talked about Tori as a kid. I believe we have
boy.
a pick. Do we? We have a pick?
You guys.
That's not bad.
Okay, this is one.
You're adorable.
Okay, there's the asymmetrical bowl
Your hair's
cut.
well, that was in back then.
No, it really
yes,
wasn't.
It was.
No, people just didn't know who I was.
Tori, you're adorable. You
What's the
painted a
problem?
much more amplified version.
What I meant is there was no idea that aesthetics were important. I just wanted to like play and be me, and it was great.
You look like a lovely 12-year-old child
I didn't really-
who is actually 12 as opposed to like 24 looking.
Yeah. No,
What's
that's
Jeff
fair.
thinking?
I don't want to get canceled.
If you're leaving us, you can watch the second half of the show on Facebook or YouTube, but if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. Kanye West launched his new music, but there seems to be one problem. Fans can't listen to it. So where is the album? And Morgan Wallin sits down for his first interview since he was caught using a racial slur. Does he deserve a comeback?
This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Welcome to DBL. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Erica, and Tori. Let's get started. So Morgan Wallin is speaking out about being caught on camera using a racial slur. The country star sat down with GMA's Michael Strahan to talk about that night in February where he was filmed rather calling one of his friends the N-word. Watch.
In our minds, it's playful, you know. I don't know if that sounds ignorant, but that's really where it came from. We were all clearly drunk, and I was asking his girlfriend to take care of him because he was drunk and he was leaving. I didn't mean it in any derogatory manner at all.
There are a lot of people going to say, okay, we've been drunk, we never used the word. Even when you're drunk, there are certain things you do and you don't do. What made you think that the word was ever appropriate to use?
I'm not sure. I think I was just ignorant about it. I don't think I sat down and was like, hey, is this right or is this wrong?
But Michael Strahan pushed back and asked him if he understands the history behind that word. Take a listen.
I've been called it. Makes you mad, makes you angry, doesn't make you feel good at all. So do you understand why it makes black people so upset?
I don't know how to put myself in their shoes because I'm not, you know. But I do understand it, especially when I say that I'm using it playfully or whatever, ignorantly. I understand that must sound, you know, like he doesn't understand.
After the incident, Morgan was dropped by his label and his talent agency, but his sales of his album and his songs did spike. Morgan said he would be donating proceeds from the spike in sales, roughly $500,000 to black organizations. Now, Morgan also said he's been working with the Black Music Action Coalition and spent 30 days in rehab. But here's the thing, so far he's the best-selling artist in 2021, according to Rolling Stone magazine, so clearly not canceled, Erica. But I want to go back to the interview. First of all, I thought Michael Strahan did a great job. We're not used to seeing him as the interviewer. I thought he did fantastic. What did you make of Morgan's responses to Michael?
Well, you know, I'm not surprised by any of the responses. We live in a very segregated society, no matter how people want to make it seem like we're all one, kumbaya. The truth is, he likely had never had anyone, as many times as he's used it, and make no mistake about it, I think based on that interview, we can assume that he's used it multiple times, and no one has ever corrected him or said that it was inappropriate. Like, I always look at the diversity of the community around me, because there are times where I am ignorant of things in terms of social rules, norms, mores. When you're in an insulated society willfully, and no one is going to check you on things that are egregious, that's what happens.
But Erica, what if people did check him and he just didn't care until he got the social pushback?
It doesn't matter if the person that's checking you don't have that type of regard for. And this is not to excuse what he did by any means. I'm just telling you that this is what it is. The fact that he sat down with Michael Strahan to have this conversation, I think that Michael Strahan was a very appropriate person to have that conversation with, and he likely sat down with him and chose that interview because he was someone that he held in a higher regard. But people need to really wake up. I kept saying, you know, when we're so used to racism being so covert, and in the past 4 or 5 years, it's been very overt, and people have to make a decision about who they want to be and who they want this world to be. And if you're protecting all of your ignorance in order to protect the people around you who you likely love and might hold to a high standard, then that's a mistake, because the world will progress without you.
Yeah. Do you think he's sorry, Morgan? Do you think Morgan's remorseful?
I can't tell you what's in his heart. I really can't, but I can tell you that the fact that his album spiked is not shocking to me at all.
It was really sad. I just thought, my God, how he didn't look apologetic at all. He looked dumb, in my opinion. I hate to say this, but so ignorant. Then read up on some things before an interview with Michael Strahan. Then educate yourself. Then take that responsibility. I don't know. Well, I do know, and I think you should know better. And I just thought that was really ill-prepared, to be super honest, with an interview. Now, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe what you're saying, he's rather protect what you said, the people around him and his community, than care. But it showed.
maybe he does care, and it's that, and again, I'm not sticking up for him, but he is from that small town. He is from where people in that area, and again, I'm just being, I'm painting this with a broad brush, use that word and they have no repercussions for it. They say it and they don't know what it means, and they do need to educate themselves. Is this an eye-opener, an awakening, maybe to people who do live in those small communities, do use that word, and they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't use that word.
But I don't think that anyone that is of sound mind doesn't know what the word means.
I'm not making an excuse. Yeah.
No. But I think it also lends itself to the conversation about critical race theory. How are you to teach young people about the history of America and why these things are so historically contextualized and so important when they go home and they hear the same thing? So basically, you're teaching them that their parents or grandparents or whoever they look up to are ignorant and are a part of the problem at school, and then they go back home. I understand why people are so up in arms about teaching the actual history of America.
Wow. Yeah, well, good conversation. Kanye West held a bizarre listening party for his long-awaited album, Donda. The album is named after Kanye's late mother, Donda West, who died in 2007. 42,000 fans paid between $20 and $100 to attend the party in Atlanta. It was also live streamed on Apple Music, but get this, Kanye showed up more than two hours late. He was wearing a full face mask, but didn't say anything to the crowd. He apparently just moved around the floor while his music played over the speakers. Now, at one point, Kanye appeared to get emotional during his song Love Unconditionally, where he raps about losing his family. His ex, Kim Kardashian, was also there, along with their 4 kids. She posted this video from the event on Instagram, but as of the taping of this show, his new album is nowhere to be found on Apple Music, Spotify, or any other streaming platforms. I believe that's all purposeful.
It's great.
Exactly
brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a marketing strategy that's brilliant. Where is it? We wanted more now. It couldn't be more supply and demand. Now people are demanding more of the supply. It's great. I can't get over it. It's brilliant.
There may also be some technical reasons as to why as well. Well, from my understanding, via the experts on Twitter, Jay-Z had just completed his track 4 hours before this listening party began, and some of the tracks seemed a little cold or raw, so there might be more going into it. So this may have been a teaser. I love the fact that he named this, and his inspiration was Dr. Donda West. She was an incredibly special woman. I did not know her well or personally. I did sit next to her at Oprah, and she talked to me the whole time, and I got to interview her. She reminded me so much of my mother. She just was incredibly special, and I know that ever since she passed away, you know, I could only imagine what would happen.
He hasn't been the same.
Right.
I really liked seeing Kim and their kids there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They really do take care of their families. Whatever you want to say about the Kardashians, they're there to support their family members, even if they're not there with them. Kanye is such an interesting person to me. Like, he fascinates me. If I went to a concert and they didn't sing, I'd be like, what's going on here? But if it's Kanye, you're like, that's so artistic of him. And I always say this about Kanye, like, there's that level of genius, artistic genius, and insanity. And he walks that line, but he's brilliant. Look at the marketing strategy. Now I want to tune into that.
Right, me too. You really quickly, before we go, you were very quick to criticize people attending the Olympics, but not to attend this concert. Why? No, I'm curious.
Very good point. Double standard. I should have been more careful about that. I'm glad he was in a mask. I hope more people were masked, but I wish.
He was in nylon.
He was in a mask.
He's still in a mask. I just wish they'd have been vaccinated. You had to show proof, and maybe they did. I don't know.
Maybe they did. We don't know. All right, coming up on DBL, 2 women from the show Love After Lockup tell us what it was really like pursuing relationships with men behind bars. And our Beyond the Medal series continues with Gabby Douglas. Our interview with the history-making gymnast is next.
Look at.
Closed captioning provided by
It is hard.
I don't like Kanye.
It is.
I thought that was very
We're having a
strong.
conversation.
I would be mad about it.
We're all talking about
I'd
it.
be mad about it, but that's
The 3 of us huddle up.
It was also
All right, guys, they're having a conversation. Our producer.
So he went there and he listened to his album.
Where's the genius in not showing up and being late and not being there? And we're arguing that that's art, in a way, a performance art, a postmodern look at it. And it's generational, I think, but it's interesting to see this because it's like, if you watch, take a look.
Well, he probably thought he was. Yeah, but he wasn't.
He was just manipulative.
I've had teachers, like professors throughout school, and they're got perfect scores in like the ACT, and there's something a little off there. You can
No,
tell
I
like
agree with
socially
that. I do
something's a
think
little
that
off.
God doesn't give with both hands. Let's
Absolutely,
be honest.
yeah.
If you get a lot of one thing, then you're gonna get like
And I
a
do
little bit
think
less than most of other
I
people.
do think
on
it's
the other.
performance art. I
And
really
it was
do
a
believe
listening
it.
party, so technically he wasn't there to sing.
Right.
He was there just to listen to the album with his fans.
And Brandon made a good point saying, you're so big, you're Kanye, the other people will sing your songs. That's a really interesting point.
This is brand new. They didn't know it.
Yeah, these are all brand new songs.
Way to repeat a terrible
Yeah, they were all
observation.
brand new. Nobody had heard.
Well, I definitely thought it was a better point. First of all, I just think it's so cool that you're all, I want it. And think about his shoes. I lived on Fairfax, right, where they let the shoes go every Tuesday.
What are the shoes called?
Yeezys.
There you
And
go.
guess what? They drop and there'd only be like 5 pair and people would wait around the block to buy them. So you give us tiny little amount of supply and you have so many people demanding more. It's basic economics and it's brilliant.
I went to a Kanye concert that was like
Did you go to a Kanye
semi-private.
concert?
I could have sent it in. I'm going to show
Why
you the
did
video.
you have it go to a semi-concert Kanye concert?
So it was so crazy, the story. I don't know how much time we have. It was in the middle of Beverly Hills. It was like blocked off. One of my buddies used to run all these like bars and stuff over there. I got in there. It was maybe 300, 400 people, so many stars, and I was like right here watching a concert. You were Kanye West. I have video. It's sick.
I'm Kanye. I hope.
Well, as you know, the Summer Games have officially kicked off, and we're catching up with one of the Fierce Five, honey. In today's Beyond the Medal, we talked to Gabby Douglas, and nothing about it is routine. Take a look.
Her mom always used to say, inspire a generation. And that's exactly what Gabby Douglas did at just 16 years old. Gabby was the first African American to become the individual all-around champion at the 2012 Summer Games in London. As an adrenaline junkie, it's no surprise that she took the zest for life and applied it to gymnastics. Gabby Douglas is a 3-time gold medalist, and she taught us all that there's no I in team.
Yes, we're here with American gymnast and gold medalist. Yes, honey. Gabby Douglas. Thank you so much for coming on DBL. Gabby.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is our honor. Now, we can't wait to hear about the Unjunk Your Sleep tour, but first, let's talk Summer Games. You were the first African American to win you were the first African American to win an individual gold medal. Walk us through that moment at the podium. What was going through your mind, because we can all remember what was going through ours.
Oh my goodness, it was like a dream come true. It was like a Hollywood ending, like a Disney movie where everything, the outcome works, and it was so successful. And honestly, it was just like I literally had a flashback standing up on the podium, and I was like, all the hard work, the training, the blood, sweat, and tears, like all the adversity, the opposition, all the challenges I had to overcome and face, and I just thought, like, this is my life. Like, this is not even a medal. Like, this is my life. And it was just such a phenomenal feeling.
I love that she thinks it's like Bluebirds came in at the end and gave her the medal. It's a Disney ending, Gabby. All right. Now, tonight, right, athletes are participating in the opening ceremonies, and you were there. We want to know, what is it like to be there with all the teams? Is it like exhausting, or is it super exhilarating?
We were never allowed to actually perform or even engage in the opening ceremonies, because we compete right after that. So we honestly had to just be in bed, and we could watch a little bit on the TV, but we weren't really allowed to participate. We had to I missed the opening ceremonies twice, because I've been so grateful to be a part of both Olympics in 2012 and 2016, but we weren't allowed to participate.
So interesting.
So, Gabby, earlier this week, gymnast alternate Kara Eaker caught COVID, and now she can't compete. So how do you think this will affect the Team USA going forward into the competition?
I have so much respect, and I applaud these athletes during this time, because it is so hard and so difficult. Not only do you have to train, but also too, there's a pandemic going on, and now you have to social distance, and now you have to be careful who you're around, who you touch, what you touch. And then there's a case like this where you can't compete, and as girls and, you know, as women, like, this is our dream. Like, this is what we were born to do. This is what we put in so much hours into our craft, and, you know, to not be able to do what you love is honestly heartbreaking.
So disappointing. Well, sis, you know, we know champions like you are not made overnight. So what was a typical training day like for you? And can you spill what some of your go-to cheat foods were while competing?
Yes. So a day in the life of Gabby Douglas while training was boring, honestly, if I can say. Like, the process is the same thing every day, because our bodies, like, we really need to do the same thing every day, and with anything, because it's muscle memory, and we want to make sure that when we go out to compete, it is like second nature. It is just like walking. And so every single day it's the same thing. But my cheat meals would be definitely something carby, like pasta, pizza.
Yeah. That's my every meal, Gabby.
Potatoes, yeah.
Okay, Gabby, with the Tokyo Summer Games roughly 16 hours ahead of the U.S., what impact could that have on athletes and their need to adjust their sleep in order to perform? I know if I don't get any sleep, I can't perform, and I'm not an athlete. So how can you unjunk your sleep to help? Because you need to talk about that.
Our bodies, our muscles, our minds, like, we definitely need more sleep as human beings, because we're not getting enough of it. And I'm so grateful to be here with Mattress Firm to talk about how to unjunk your sleep. And Mattress Firm is actually kicking off its Unjunk Your Sleep tour. They're going to have experts come and teach you how to unjunk your sleep. They're coming to Houston, Detroit, and New York City. So I recommend just going to junksleep.com for more info.
Thank you so much for coming on, DBL.
Thank you guys so much. You all are so sweet. All the best, and have a good day, you guys.
She gets a 10. 10 out of 10.
Yes.
She landed.
The dismount. Thank you, sis. We'll be right back.
Landing.
Bye, love.
Increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, with 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Welcome back to DBL. For Love After Lockups, Rachel and Lindsay, not even federal prison stands in the way of their love for their husbands. Earlier, Al spoke to these ladies about pairing up with prisoners in today's DBL Spotlight.
Rachel and Brittany, welcome to DBL. Now, first and foremost, Brittany, I'm going to start with you, my dear. Now, look, the world saw you with Mr. You Have the Right to Remain Silent, but you saw Mr. Right. What was it that you saw?
I saw a wonderful man. I mean, he's just a good person altogether. It was easy for me to see past his criminal history and that where he resided at the time, which was in federal prison.
Now, Rachel, I'm coming to you now, girl. Now, Doug's actually the second convicted felon that you've been in a committed relationship. What attracts you to inmates versus like a gainfully employed engineer.
You know, I like the tattoo guy. I like the steamy relationship that's different.
Rachel seems very happy.
I'll walk outside.
But my gut made me sick from the minute I met him.
Now, when you picked up Doug, you know, let's just say that you hadn't made the marriage official yet. What was it like that first night when they got home? Like, what was it like getting together? I mean, it had been a while.
It felt perfect. It felt right. It was something that I had been waiting for quite some time.
Now, I got to ask you guys, let's keep it 100 here. How do your families feel about your relationships? Like, have there been any issues? Well, what do you say, Brittany?
My family, especially my mother, is not having it.
I mean, there's a reason why I haven't told you all about him, because he's in prison.
Oh, girl. No. It was tough. It still is.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. My girl said the T-shirts that you guys had when you went and picked them up, she was like, that was just a really sweet, heartfelt thing to do. Was that your idea, the T-shirts, you belong here?
It was. And you know what? I got so much backlash about the T-shirts. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, we're from the South, and I felt that was like, it was a family reunion. I thought it was appropriate to have the shirts, welcome him. We're all together. We're a united front. You belong here, Ray. Welcome home.
I don't know why anybody's acting like there's ever been a black family reunion without matching T-shirts. That has never happened. It will never happen. If you see it, those are not real black folks. Those are cops. Now,
thank you.
Now, Rachel, now that you're living together, what if you had to teach him about the outside world that he wasn't used to in prison because he was gone for a little while?
I basically had to teach him about how to get a driver's license, how to use a smartphone, how to get a bank account, paying bills, doing chores around the house, being a responsible, productive member of society.
All right, well, this one's for both of you guys. What tip would you give people that are trying to help reacclimate convicts that have been released?
Just giving them a chance, believing in rehabilitation and redemption. Our prisons, they're really not structured around rehabilitation like we'd like to think. It's more punishment. That would be the best advice I can give anyone. Just support, just being prepared yourself.
It's empathy, opening and understanding that they came from a completely different lifestyle than what you and I are used to. Not having to be worried about just going to bed at night. Out here is completely different. So it takes time to get acclimated to the free world.
Well, Brittany and Rachel, you guys got to come back and keep us updated. But for today, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you guys. DBL Nation, do me a favor, do yourselves a favor. Don't miss Love After Lockup Fridays on WeTV. We'll be right back. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the 2 Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariante Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Welcome back to DBL. There is a hidden heart problem that's claiming the lives of men, and it's happening at an alarming rate. We're chatting about it on DBL's Focus on Fitness, presented by QB. We all know if you want a healthy heart, you need to work out. According to Men's Health, atrial fibrillation, also known as AFib, is killing more Americans than ever before. It's a heart rhythm disorder that increases your risk of having a stroke or a heart attack. Now, statistically, the numbers are higher among black men. So what can be done about the silent killer? Of course, always check in with your doctor. Eat a healthy, heart-healthy diet and exercise. Staying active is so important, and QB has made it easy, regardless of physical ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-782-2351 or visit qb.com to learn more. Before we go, really important, you guys, we want to say goodbye to one of our producers, Alexa.
We love you, Alexa.
We love you so much.
We love you, girl.
Probably one of the most infectious, kind energy,
Wonderful
incredible
human.
work ethic. You're going to do big things, and we wish you the best.
We love
Bye,
you, Alexa. Love you, girl.
Bye, all. Have a great weekend. See you Monday, same time, same place. You got it.
Here's what we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Let the Summer Games begin! DBL Nation, are you excited about watching, or are this year's events already a big fail? Then, our Beyond the Medal series continues with history-making gymnast Gabby Douglas. She gets a 10, 10 out of 10. She landed! Plus, Morgan Wallin's first sit-down interview since he was caught using a racial slur.
So do you understand why it makes black people so upset?
And actor Emil Hirsch has the scoop on his favorite A-list co-stars.
He's absolutely hysterical, and he's got a great sense of humor.
Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Oh my gosh, we're already off to a good start over here. Welcome to DBL. It is Friday, July 23rd. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Erica, and Tori. Let's get started. So, the Tokyo Games are officially underway, but it's a lot different than the past years, and people don't seem as excited as usual. The opening ceremony was meant to unite and inspire people after isolation due to COVID, but the Parade of Nations took place before an empty stadium. Even so, organizers tried to make the opening ceremonies exciting and used more than 1,800 drones to form a giant rotating Earth. Only 950 people got to watch the ceremony in person. And the Tokyo Games are being called the loneliest games ever, with no spectators and in front of 70,000 empty seats. The opening ceremonies weren't a celebration for everyone, though. Hundreds of people gathered outside to protest the games, concerned that they will turn into a super spreader event. More than 100 people at the games have already tested positive. Okay, so Jeff, what did you, one, think of the empty stadium? We've never seen that before. It felt apocalyptic to me. And then what did you think of the protest?
Okay, there's a couple things to unravel here. The protest, those are exactly the idiots on Twitter that write to you about how you're living your life. They don't want to spread COVID, but they're all together in a group. It makes no sense. It's ironic. I want to focus on the positive. That globe, that was impressive.
Was it?
Yes.
Those were all drones.
Oh, that gave me chills.
That was super cool.
Did we all watch the Beijing Olympics to see how wonderful? I mean, I think this was a little.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at how cool. Those are
I
all
thought that was
drones.
incredible.
That's very impressive.
I like the Olympics.
That's very impressive. I'm very excited about that. My boss just told me to relax a little bit.
I think he was telling me. No, I think he was telling me.
I thought it was me because I get very excited.
I was excited with you.
Okay, thank you. It's Friday. We got to get a little excited. But as far as the empty seats, people are like, this is the loneliest ever. They're putting on the games. We're trying to move forward and get past this pandemic. The UFC went with nobody in the stands. They still competed. They still fought.
Basketball.
We could do that with the Olympics too. Got to have the cup half full. We got to look at things with the cup half full.
Well, also remember what the mood and the ideas were like for athletes last year. You know, like you train your entire life for something and it's just postponed out of nowhere. Like that's just got to be mentally debilitating. And the fact that we're even getting this, like maybe it wasn't as grand as the Beijing Olympics, which apparently was the creme de la creme according to Tori.
Okay, they were.
Nothing touches Beijing.
No, the drummers, y'all remember?
Yeah. But I think for what it was and under the circumstances, I think that this is a major world celebration that they're even able to congregate in this way, and they're trying to do it as safely as possible. This is going to be the litmus test for so many things internationally as how they'll be handled post-COVID. So I think that this is a wonderful thing. And I love the globe, too. I mean,
okay, let me just say this. I love the globe. Okay, let me just say one thing.
Don't say you love the globe.
Yeah,
you say you didn't.
I liked the globe. Fair. Here's the thing. I wish they just would have waited a year. Because I think this is a bad idea.
Tell that to the athletes, though.
Right.
So wait a year because I'm worried more about your life than your athletic competition.
Tori Shulman.
You think 1 year is going to make someone who's a great athlete?
Are you kidding me? Have
No?
Competed?
You think 1 year will make someone absolutely not be able to be in the Olympics?
Okay. Let me talk, because this is, listen, these athletes have, coming from a former athlete who was at the Olympic level, these athletes have poured in their blood, sweat, and tears to compete. Now, the ones that got canceled a year ago, a lot of them aren't able to go now because you have to still qualify in the Olympic trials for the Olympics. Depending on the sport, top 1 and 2 people. So even if you're the #1 person in the world for 5 years in a row, if you don't compete a few months ago at your best level at the Olympic trials, you're not going. So the people that may have qualified last year aren't the same ones that got to go this year.
Which I hear
now,
you.
as far as the COVID goes, I totally agree with you, but don't take that away from the athletes. If anything, maybe mandate the vaccine. Maybe there's exceptions for those that can't be vaccinated because of circumstances we're not aware of. However, though, I don't think that you can tell athletes to postpone it yet another year just because there's not people
And she's
in the
a drone
stands.
globe hater.
First of all, I just want to say this. The reason I love athletes, I'm looking out because you guys are like, this, you can't miss a year.
So
I'm worried
the vaccine.
Wait, let me finish. I'm worried about their lives. And that to me is more important. I think this bringing everybody in from all different countries is the exact thing Fauci is saying we don't do. And now people, like Jeff said, are protesting it, bringing even more people. People in Tokyo don't want these games.
Don't you think they could have done it similar to the NBA in a bubble? They could have. So maybe
But have a year to organize it and do it right.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
You're concerned about their lives, but you also need to consider their mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever run into someone or known someone intimately who's been a lifelong athlete and their career is over, those like next few years are very delicate. So what
But I'd
happens
rather them
to
have those
someone-
years than be sick.
Right, but you don't understand then.
Yeah.
Because that is their life.
I
I
hear you both. I do. I just think.
What about
I wish
me?
it was. You didn't say anything. I just wish we were all doing it a little more
I agree
organized.
with that.
Yeah.
That I can agree with you.
Okay.
There.
That was sexist, and she's a globe hater.
She did say she hated the globe.
I did.
And men, pretty much. She just ignored my point.
You said nothing, Jeff.
Okay, so continuing on with the Olympics, some of the year's competing athletes defy age norms. Australian equestrian and grandmother Mary Hannah is proving that age is just a number. She's 66, you guys. She's a grandma, and this is her 7th time participating in the games. Look at her. But get this, the youngest person competing in Tokyo is Syrian table tennis player Hen Zaza. She's just 12 years old. And I know we don't have the picture of Amanda Beard, but I was hoping we could have it, because if you remember in '96, and I described the picture because then you'll remember, she was like 13, maybe 14, but had just turned 14. But you remember she was carrying around her teddy bear everywhere? She was a swimmer, so of course I know her. But that juxtaposition, because the pressure of the world stage at 12 or 13, and then you see an Olympian carrying around her teddy bear, that's what it reminded me of. But at 12, what were you doing at 12?
Not going to the Olympics, I'll tell you that. Not even close. But yeah, I think if you grow up in that atmosphere or grow up with parents like that, and you get to see the next level competition, it really has an impact on you, and obviously it does.
And if you start young, right?
Yeah.
I think I would have handled a lot of things far better at 12 than I do at 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a very fearless child. You know, like I would just do things. People were like, okay, just let her do it. Because you don't understand ramifications
I kind of with you.
So it's like, you know, ignorance is bliss in that respect, and I mean that very respectfully.
Yeah, I just remember at 12, I had no concept of boys and girls at that point. I was just becoming into it. So I had the asymmetrical haircut, the sports goggles, and the double retainer. And life was just like, cool. Like I just enjoyed, really. I had no concept of.
What was Tori's hobbies?
I like to play make-believe. I like to do a lot of bicycle riding, and we would make potions and things.
That's really cool.
Because we didn't have phones. I'm talking about this is an analog kid's life. You play in the dirt. You go out till the street lights come on. What?
No, it sounds like a very exciting childhood.
Thank you.
Can we have a picture? Please? Do we have a picture of Tori?
You should write a book.
Well, I think growing up without any expectations on you and technology makes for a really fearless kid childhood. You didn't have to worry. It was lovely.
I'll just push back a little bit, even though I agree that at 12 it may be ignorance is bliss, but at the same time, we heard Summer Sanders say you got to be in the zone. You can be in the best shape of your life. If you go there and you're not mentally stable enough to picture yourself on the podium, you'll freeze up, no matter what shape you're in. So I pray that this 12-year-old is like a little Erica Cobb and kills it and takes home a gold. Coming up on DBL, Morgan Wallin's first sit-down interview since he was caught using a racial slur. Does he own up to it? And our interview with actor Emil Hirsch. Find out the A-list co-star he says is the funniest on set. Plus Dr. Coley, she's here in the studio clearing up COVID confusion. Is it time to mask up again?
Closed captioning provided by
Hi, DBL Nation. Happy Friday. Ooh, we're having a little technical difficulties over here. I hope you can hear me. It is Kelly Schubert here with the DBL digital team. Let's go ahead and make our way up to the desk as we get ready for Dr. Coley. She is going to answer all our questions about coronavirus. How are you guys
And
doing
we're going to talk
up here?
about how globophobia is impacting Tori's life.
First of all, watch this. Not only am I getting made fun of, I'm also getting kicked out for Dr. Coley, who's almost better than I am on the show. My bosses agree.
Almost?
All right, okay. No, I'm saying she should take a panelist side.
Yes, I'm glad I told you all to keep the volume down.
I know, right?
Oh yeah, so the calm, so Bert was very sensitive. That was nice that you did come up to, I didn't need it, but he said the calm down was the volume. But I understood the note. But if you say calm down to like a woman, oh.
I don't think calm down bothers
Bert tells me to calm down all the time.
What's the difference between, if I'm like, hey, you gotta calm down a
Because
little
he's
bit.
my
like,
boss.
you gotta relax a little
He's
bit.
my boss.
What's the difference?
He's my boss.
No, I'm saying, she just said.
In the history of people telling you to calm down, no woman has ever calmed down.
Sam's
totally agree with Sam. Yeah, I totally agree with Sam. Relax.
Wait, no one heard you because Tori jumped in front of you.
So we were saying that to Jeff's point, calm down and relax mean the same thing.
Right.
I don't know why relax is more triggering to me. Maybe
Same with me.
because in the past, the people that were like relax
Yes.
use that word and not calm down.
And you're not saying it like that.
Yes, it's the tone.
What if I'm like, listen, you gotta calm down, or if I'm like, listen, you gotta relax.
It's all tone.
But if I like relax.
Yes.
Yes.
Or, but
Agreed.
so if I go, you gotta calm down.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
the same.
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's all tone. I think
in
you're
the past
exactly
they've
right.
been synonymous
Yes.
with a lot of
I
women.
totally agree
It's
with you.
never like, hey, relax, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
In the past,
It's
at
like,
least,
relax.
Yeah, it's more like, whoa, relax.
Yeah.
Are you on your period?
Yeah, totally. That is what
You
it's
went,
like.
whoa.
Wait, what's the Nick Cage one?
That's it. But you went, whoa.
DBL Nation, happy Friday. Dr. Coley is coming up next. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to DBL. As much as we'd like to put the pandemic behind us, the variants and recent rise in COVID-19 cases continue to cause major concern. And our medical expert, Dr. Coley, is here to help keep us up to date with the latest information. Okay, so Dr. Coley, thank you so much for being here. And a lot of our viewers are confused. So we need you to clarify. What's driving right now the increase in COVID-19 cases?
You know, we have created the perfect recipe for cases to go up. So think about it. Vaccination rates have dropped off. There's a new, more contagious version of the virus, and the masks have come off. So it's literally like driving your car with the accelerator and no brakes.
Scary.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Coley, with the potential need for a booster for people who are vaccinated, people who aren't vaccinated might say the vaccine's not even working against this new variant. Could you explain that?
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. So the booster is really just meant to sort of, it's almost like going to the gym for our immune system. It's meant to flex its muscle. It's meant to teach it the new variant and how to fight it a little bit better. That doesn't mean that the vaccine is not working against the variant. It just means we need to boost the response that we have.
Let me have a follow-up question as well.
Please.
For somebody on the fence, because we talk about this a lot on our show, you're not going to change somebody's mind that doesn't ever want to get that vaccine, right? But for somebody that's on the fence that might have had a family member, a close friend, what would you tell them to push them over that edge to say, you're going to want to get this vaccine?
I would say 99% of the deaths that are occurring right now are in unvaccinated individuals. This has become the pandemic of the unvaccinated. And if those unvaccinated individuals met us halfway and got the vaccine, we'd be done. We'd be done with those masks. We'd be done with the social distancing. We'd be done with the restrictions.
Wow.
Okay, so you know what my follow-up question is going to be, because this has been the #1 thing people have been saying to me. There are people who got the vaccine and they're still getting COVID. So, I mean, and that's the thing. So how do you combat that? But also, is it necessary to go back to masks because of that reason?
So great point and great question. We know that no vaccine is 100%. We expect some breakthrough cases. But using that argument is sort of like saying seatbelts don't work because people can still get injured in car accidents. Seatbelts dramatically reduce the risk of dying in a car accident. But yes, you can still have injury, and that's exactly what's happening. So there are some breakthrough cases that are occurring in the community, but they're occurring because there's so much virus. They're not occurring because the vaccines are failing.
And for some of the people, the few people that are getting the breakthrough cases, they're more likely to be asymptomatic or less symptoms, right? They're not the ones that are being hospitalized in the ICU.
That's exactly right. In fact, we're thinking we're even underdiagnosing the number of breakthrough cases because a lot of people don't even have symptoms when they get a breakthrough case, which is really what we wanted all along with this vaccine, was to turn it from a deadly condition to something like the flu that you can get. You can, still live with your life and not have any consequences like your poor Eric does.
I know, which you've been an absolute lifesaver for our family. But somebody wrote in yesterday, and it actually broke my heart because they were saying, I'm sick and tired of being lumped in, and I'm just paraphrasing. I'm sick and tired of being lumped into people that can't get the vaccine or won't get the vaccine. I can't get the vaccine. And I don't know this woman's circumstances, but can you elaborate how all of us hopefully getting the vaccine with herd immunity, it protects people like her or our children or Eric who can't get the vaccine because of his double lung transplant?
We are the shield, you guys. We're the shield for people who can't yet get the vaccine, like our kids under 12, or the people who can't ever get the vaccine because of their medical conditions. And if the virus can't find a host, it's going to die out. By not getting vaccinated, we're giving it the opportunity to find a host. And by putting those masks on, we are preventing it from spreading as efficiently as you had said, Erica.
Even if you're vaccinated, should you be wearing masks?
This is different now, and the answer is yes. So, I never took my mask off, ever. But for a lot of my patients, I told them, if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask. But now that we have so many Delta cases, that mask needs to come back on just for the time being.
All right. Wow. You heard it from our doctor here. If you have a question about coronavirus you want answered by Dr. Coley, write us on social media. You can also email info@dailyblastlive.com. We will be right back.
Increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, with 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Welcome back to DBL. Actor Emile Hirsch is best known for movies like Into the Wild and The Girl Next Door. Earlier, Lindsay, Tori, and I spoke with Emile about his new movie, and we get the scoop on the Hollywood legends he's worked with. That's today's Chatting with the Stars. Emil, welcome to DBL. So you're a busy man. Midnight in the Switchgrass isn't your only movie released this year. And on top of that, this spring you released an album. But I've heard you don't like actors who do music, even though that's exactly what you're doing. So what makes Emil the unicorn?
Well, I don't know that I am the unicorn. I just, you know, traditionally, whenever I hear an actor making an album or doing music, I listen to it and I usually don't like it.
I woke up falling yesterday.
But I always tell people, I'm like, you know, I like making music because I don't like actor music, and I do it despite that. Like all the humiliation, I'll put myself through it.
That's when you know you're really, really determined. All right, you've worked with some Hollywood legends like Sean Penn, Brad Pitt, Leo. We're super close. Leo DiCaprio, of course, and now Bruce Willis. Which is the funniest one on set? Like, which one do you just have the most fun with? And do you have any fun stories to spill?
Well, Leo is definitely the funniest.
Really?
He's absolutely hilarious. I mean, any of his comedic performances, like Wolf of Wall Street, he's absolutely hysterical, and he's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, that's hands down Leo's the funniest. That's not even close, I'd say.
And by Tori saying she's close with Leo, she means she saw him.
I saw him like down the street once. So we were close in proximity, Emil. Come on now. Is there an actor though or actress you're dying to work with next? Is there someone you've always had on your bucket list?
I've always wanted to work with Meryl Streep. I know everybody says that, but I saw her do a radio play that Charlie Kaufman wrote at UCLA probably like 12 years ago, and it was just so interesting, and I feel like she's like the best, so I think that would be a blast to work with Meryl Streep.
Well, actually, I am Meryl Streep. No,
wow. Sorry, Emil. We apologize.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Midnight in the Switchgrass. So this movie is sure to have everyone on the edge of their seats. So what did you love most about your role in this film?
So my character is Byron Crawford. He's a homicide detective who's been trying to solve these unsolved murders.
Some people, they just think that the girls, you know, the hookers and the druggies, they got what they had coming.
What do you believe?
A hard-looking life don't make you any less of a human.
I just didn't want it to be like, you know, another, you know, chip on his shoulder atheist cop or something like that. I wanted you to really I wanted to get to the meat of what motivated this guy. So it really felt like a good versus evil kind of movie, you know?
And Emil, you seem very particular about the roles you choose, about your method of doing things. So how do you get into a role?
I've done it like every way. I've done, you know, where I just show up and I make it up on the spot. Wow. And then I've done things where I'm sitting around researching forever and I feel like I'm, you know, in a college course or something. I've tried it all ways, and I sort of enjoy not having any particular set system. It sort of makes it more fun for me.
Smart.
One of the last movies I did, I worked in Guatemala, and I wrapped this movie on a Saturday, and I flew on Sunday, and then I had another movie that I started on a Monday.
Oh, Lord.
And it was like, I was just like flying international, and then I landed and I did a wardrobe fitting, and then I show up on Monday and Kate Bosworth's looking at me like, hi. And I'm like, hey, okay, action. I'm just like, oh my gosh. But I have to say, like, I love that.
It sounds freeing, and I think now when viewers watch you in your roles, we can kind of see, wow, this is him like completely improvising to a degree, which just speaks to your talent. So viewers, Midnight in the Switchgrass opens in theaters, on demand, and digital today. Emil, thank you so much for joining us. You'll have to come back one day. We'll be right back.
Yes, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the 2 Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariane Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Monday on DBL, a woman born into a family on the run.
We're stopped by armed soldiers with guns for trying to cross the border.
How she went from international fugitive to fashion model. That's Monday on DBL.
Welcome back to DBL. So earlier we talked about Tori as a kid. I believe we have a pick. Do we? We have a pick?
You guys.
That's not bad.
Okay, this is one.
You're adorable.
Okay, there's the asymmetrical bowl
Your hair's
cut.
well, that was in back then.
No, it really
yes,
wasn't.
It was.
No, people just didn't know who I was.
Tori, you're adorable. You
What's the
painted a
problem?
much more amplified version.
What I meant is there was no idea that aesthetics were important. I just wanted to like play and be me, and it was great.
You look like a lovely 12-year-old child
I didn't really
who is actually 12 as opposed to like 24 looking.
Yeah. No,
What's
that's
Jeff
fair.
thinking?
I don't want to get canceled.
If you're leaving us, you can watch the second half of the show on Facebook or YouTube, but if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. Kanye West launched his new music, but there seems to be one problem. Fans can't listen to it. So where is the album? And Morgan Wallin sits down for his first interview since he was caught using a racial slur. Does he deserve a comeback?
This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Welcome to DBL. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Erica, and Tori. Let's get started. So Morgan Wallin is speaking out about being caught on camera using a racial slur. The country star sat down with GMA's Michael Strahan to talk about that night in February where he was filmed rather calling one of his friends the N-word. Watch.
In our minds, it's playful, you know. I don't know if that sounds ignorant, but that's really where it came from. We were all clearly drunk, and I was asking his girlfriend to take care of him because he was drunk and he was leaving. I didn't mean it in any derogatory manner at all.
There are a lot of people going to say, okay, we've been drunk, we never used the word. Even when you're drunk, there are certain things you do and you don't do. What made you think that the word was ever appropriate to use?
I'm not sure. I think I was just ignorant about it. I don't think I sat down and was like, hey, is this right or is this wrong?
But Michael Strahan pushed back and asked him if he understands the history behind that word. Take a listen.
I've been called it. Makes you mad, makes you angry, doesn't make you feel good at all. So do you understand why it makes black people so upset?
I don't know how to put myself in their shoes because
organizations. Now, Morgan also said he's been working with the Black Music Action Coalition and spent 30 days in rehab. But here's the thing. So far, he's the best-selling artist in 2021, according to Rolling Stone magazine. So clearly not canceled, Erica. But I want to go back to the interview. First of all, I thought Michael Strahan did a great job. We're not used to seeing him as the interviewer. I thought he did fantastic. What did you make of Morgan's responses to Michael?
Well, you know, I'm not surprised by any of the responses. We live in a very segregated society, no matter how people want to make it seem like we're all one, kumbaya. The truth is, he likely had never had anyone, as many times as he's used it, and make no mistake about it, I think based on that interview, we can assume that he's used it multiple times, and no one has ever corrected him or said that it was inappropriate. Like, I always look at the diversity of the community around me, because there are times where I am ignorant of things in terms of social rules, norms, mores. When you're in an insulated society willfully, and no one is going to check you on things that are egregious, that's what happens.
But Erica, what if people did check him and he just didn't care until he got the social pushback?
It doesn't matter if the person that's checking you don't have that type of regard for. And this is not to excuse what he did by any means. I'm just telling you that this is what it is. the fact that he sat down with Michael Strahan to have this conversation, I think that Michael Strahan was a very appropriate person to have that conversation with, and he likely sat down with him and chose that interview because he was someone that he held in a higher regard. But people need to really wake up. I kept saying, you know, when we're so used to racism being so covert, and in the past 4 or 5 years, it's been very overt, and people have to make a decision about who they want to be and who they want this world to be. And if you're protecting all of your ignorance in order to protect the people around you who you likely love and might hold to a high standard, then that's a mistake, because the world will progress without you.
Yeah. Do you think he's sorry, Morgan? Do you think Morgan's remorseful?
I can't tell you what's in his heart. I really can't, but I can tell you that the fact that his album spiked is not shocking to me at all.
It was really sad. I just thought, my God, how he didn't look apologetic at all. He looked dumb, in my opinion. I hate to say this, but so ignorant. Then read up on some things before an interview with Michael Strahan. Then educate yourself. Then take that responsibility. I don't know. Well, I do know, and I think you should know better. And I just thought that was really ill-prepared, to be super honest, with an interview. Now, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe what you're saying, he's rather protect what you said, the people around him and his community, than care. But it showed.
Maybe he does care, and it's that, and again, I'm not sticking up for him, but he is from that small town. He is from where people in that area, and again, I'm just I'm painting this with a broad brush, use that word and they have no repercussions for it. They say it and they don't know what it means, and they do need to educate themselves. Is this an eye-opener, an awakening, maybe to people who do live in those small communities, do use that word, and they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't use that word.
But I don't think that anyone that is of sound mind doesn't know what the word means.
I'm not making an excuse. Yeah.
No. But I think it also lends itself to the conversation about critical race theory. How are you to teach young people about the history of America and why these things are so historically contextualized and so important when they go home and they hear the same thing? So basically, you're teaching them that their parents or grandparents or whoever they look up to are ignorant and are a part of the problem at school, and then they go back home. I understand why people are so up in arms about teaching the actual history of America.
Wow. Yeah, well, good conversation. Kanye West held a bizarre listening party for his long-awaited album, Donda. The album is named after Kanye's late mother, Donda West, who died in 2007. 42,000 fans paid between $20 and $100 to attend the party in Atlanta. It was also live streamed on Apple Music, but get this, Kanye showed up more than two hours late. He was wearing a full face mask, but didn't say anything to the crowd. He apparently just moved around the floor while his music played over the speakers. Now, at one point, Kanye appeared to get emotional during his song Love Unconditionally, where he raps about losing his family. His ex, Kim Kardashian, was also there, along with their 4 kids. She posted this video from the event on Instagram, but as of the taping of this show, his new album is nowhere to be found on Apple Music, Spotify, or any other streaming platforms. I believe that's all purposeful.
It's great.
Exactly.
Brilliant. It's a marketing strategy that's brilliant. Where is it? We wanted more now. It couldn't be more supply and demand. Now people are demanding more of the supply. It's great. I can't get over it. It's brilliant.
There may also be some technical reasons as to why as well. Well, from my understanding, via the experts on Twitter, Jay-Z had just completed his track 4 hours before this listening party began, and some of the tracks seemed a little cold or raw, so there might be more going into it. So this may have been a teaser. I love the fact that he named this, and his inspiration was Dr. Donda West. She was an incredibly special woman. I did not know her well or personally. I did sit next to her at Oprah, and she talked to me the whole time, and I got to interview her. She reminded me so much of my mother. She just was incredibly special, and I know that ever since she passed away, you know, I could only imagine what would happen.
He hasn't been the same.
Right.
I really liked seeing Kim and their kids there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They really do take care of their families. Whatever you want to say about the Kardashians, they're there to support their family members, even if they're not there with them. Kanye is such an interesting person to me. Like, he fascinates me. If I went to a concert and they didn't sing, I'd be like, what's going on here? But if it's Kanye, you're like, that's so artistic of him. And I always say this about Kanye, like, there's that level of genius, artistic genius, and insanity. And he walks that line, but he's brilliant brilliant. Look at the marketing strategy. Now I want to tune into that.
Right,
I
me
want to
too.
listen.
You really quickly before we go, you were very quick to criticize people attending the Olympics, but not to attend this concert. Why?
Oh.
No, I'm curious.
Very good point. Probably double standard. I should have been more careful about that. I'm glad he was in a mask. I hope more people were masked, but I wish.
He was in nylon.
He was in a mask.
He's still in a mask. I just wish they'd have been vaccinated. You had to show proof, and maybe they did. I don't know.
Maybe they did. We don't know. All right, coming up on DBL, 2 women from the show Love After Lockup tell us what it was really like pursuing relationships with men behind bars. And our Beyond the Medal series continues with Gabby Douglas. Our interview with the history-making gymnast is next.
Look at.
Closed captioning provided by. It is art.
I don't like Kanye.
It is.
I thought that was very
We're having a conversation.
I would be mad about it.
We're all talking about
I'd
it.
be mad about it, but that's
The three of us huddle up.
All
right, guys, they're having a conversation. Our producer.
So he went there and he listened to his album.
Where's the genius in not showing up and being late and not being there? And we're arguing that that's art, in a way, a performance art, a postmodern look at it. And it's generational, I think, but it's interesting to see this because it's like, if you watch, take a look.
Well, he probably thought he was. Yeah, but he wasn't.
He was just manipulative.
I've had teachers, like professors throughout school, and they're got perfect scores in like the ACT, and there's something a little off there. You can tell like socially
I do
something's a
think
little
that
off.
God doesn't give with both hands. Let's
Absolutely.
Be honest.
Yeah.
If you get a lot
of one thing,
on one thing, then you're gonna get like
And I
a
do
little
think
bit
it's-
less than most of other
I
people.
do think
on
it's
the other.
performance art. I
And
really
it was
do
a
believe
listening
it.
party, so technically he wasn't there to sing.
Right.
He was there just to listen to the album with his fans.
And Brandon made a good point saying, you're so big, you're Kanye, the other people will sing your songs. That's a really interesting point.
This is brand new. They didn't know it.
Yeah, these are all brand new songs.
Way to repeat a terrible
Yeah, they're all
observation.
brand new. Nobody had heard.
Well, I definitely thought it was a better point. First of all, I just think it's so cool that you're all, I want it, I want it, I want it. And think about his shoes. I lived on Fairfax, right, where they let the shoes go every Tuesday.
What are the shoes called?
Yeezys.
There you
And
go.
they, guess what? They drop and there'd only be like 5 pair and people would wait around the block to buy them. So you give us tiny little amount of supply and you have so many people demanding more. It's basic economics and it's brilliant.
I went to a Kanye concert that was like
Did you go to a Kanye
semi-private.
concert?
I could have sent it in. I'm going to show
Why
you the
did
video.
you have it go to a semi-concert Kanye concert?
So it was so crazy, the story. I don't know how much time we have. It was in the middle of Beverly Hills. It was like blocked off. One of my buddies used to run all these like bars and stuff over there. I got in there. It was maybe 300, 400 people, so many stars, and I was like right here watching a concert. You were Kanye West. I have video. It's sick.
Oh, I'm Kanye. I hope.
Well, as you know, the Summer Games have officially kicked off, and we're catching up with one of the Fierce Five, honey. In today's Beyond the Medal, we talked to Gabby Douglas, and nothing about it is routine. Take a look.
Her mom always used to say, inspire a generation. And that's exactly what Gabby Douglas did at just 16 years old. Gabby was the first African American to become the individual all-around champion at the 2012 Summer Games in London. As an adrenaline junkie, it's no surprise that she took the zest for life and applied it to gymnastics. Gabby Douglas is a 3-time gold medalist, and she taught us all that there's no I in team.
Yes, we're here with American gymnast and gold medalist. Yes, honey. Gabby Douglas. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on DBL. Gabby.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is our honor. Now, we can't wait to hear about the Unjunk Your Sleep tour, but first, let's talk Summer Games. You were the first African American to win you were the first African American to win an individual gold medal. Walk us through that moment at the podium. What was going through your mind, because we can all remember what was going through ours.
Oh my goodness, it was like a dream come true. It was like a Hollywood ending, like a Disney, a Disney movie where everything, the outcome works, and it was it was so successful. And honestly, it was just Like, I literally had a flashback standing up on the podium, and I was like, all the hard work, the training, the blood, sweat, and tears, like all the adversity, the opposition, all the challenges I had to overcome and face, and I just thought, like, this is my life. Like, this is not even a medal. Like, this is my life. And it was just such a phenomenal feeling.
I love that she thinks it's like Bluebirds came in at the end and gave her the medal. It's a Disney ending, Gabby. All right. Now, tonight, like, right, athletes are participating in the opening ceremonies, and you were there. We want to know, what is it like to be there with all the teams? Is it, like, exhausting, or is it super exhilarating?
We were never allowed to actually perform or even engage in the opening ceremonies, like, because we compete right after that. So we honestly had to just be in bed, and we could watch a little bit on the TV, but we weren't really allowed to participate. You know, we had to I missed the opening ceremonies twice because I've been so grateful to be a part of both Olympics in 2012 and 2016, but, you know, we weren't allowed to participate.
So interesting.
So, Gabby, earlier this week, gymnast alternate Kara Eaker caught COVID, and now she can't compete. So how do you think this will affect the Team USA going forward into the competition?
I have so much respect, and I applaud these athletes during this time, because it is so hard and so difficult. Not only do you have to train, but also too, like, there's a pandemic going on, and now you have to social distance, and now you have to be careful who you're around, who you touch, what you touch. And then there's a case like this where you can't compete, and, you know, as girls and, you know, as women, like, this is our dream. Like, this is what we were born to do. This is what we put in so much hours into our craft, and, you know, to not be able to do what you love is honestly heartbreaking.
So disappointing. Well, sis, you know, we know champions like you are not made overnight. So what was a typical training day like for you? And can you spill what some of your go-to cheat foods were while competing?
Yes. So a day in the life of Gabby Douglas while training was boring, honestly, if I can say. Like, the process is the same thing every day, because our bodies, like, we really need to do the same thing every day, and with anything, because it's muscle memory, and we want to make sure that when we go out to compete, it is like second nature. It is just like walking. And so every single day it's the same thing. But my cheat meals would be definitely something carby, like pasta, pizza.
Yeah. That's my every meal, Gabby.
Potatoes, yeah.
Okay, Gabby, with the Tokyo Summer Games roughly 16 hours ahead of the U.S., what impact could that have on athletes and their need to adjust their sleep in order to perform? I know if I don't get any sleep, I can't perform, and I'm not an athlete. So how can you unjunk your sleep to help? Because you need to talk about that.
Our bodies, our muscles, our minds, like, we definitely need more sleep as human beings, because we're not getting enough of it. And I'm so grateful to be here with Mattress Firm to talk about how to unjunk your sleep. And Mattress Firm is actually kicking off its Unjunk Your Sleep tour. They're going to have experts come and teach you how to unjunk your sleep. They're coming to Houston, Detroit, and New York City. So I recommend just going to junksleep.com for more info.
Thank you so much for coming on, DBL.
Thank you guys so much. You all are so sweet. All the best, and have a good day, you guys.
She gets a 10 out of 10. Yes. She landed. The dismount.
Thank you, sis. We'll be right back.
Landing.
Bye, love.
Increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, With 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Welcome back to DBL. For Love After Lockups, Rachel and Lindsay, not even federal prison stands in the way of their love for their husbands. Earlier, Al spoke to these ladies about pairing up with prisoners in today's DBL Spotlight.
Rachel and Brittany, welcome to DBL. Now, first and foremost, Brittany, I'm going to start with you, my dear. Now, look, the world saw you with Mr. You Have the Right to Remain Silent, but you saw Mr. Right. What was it that you saw?
I saw a wonderful man. I mean, he's just a good person altogether. It was easy for me to see past his criminal history and that where he resided at the time, which was in federal prison.
Now, Rachel, I'm coming to you now, girl. Now, Doug's actually the second convicted felon that you've been in a committed relationship. What attracts you to inmates versus like a gainfully employed engineer?
You know, I like the tattoo guy. I like the steamy relationship that's different.
Rachel seems very happy.
I'll walk outside.
But my gut made me sick from the minute I met him.
Now, when you picked up Doug, you know, let's just say that you hadn't made the marriage official yet. What was it like that first night when they got home? Like, what was it like getting together? I mean, it had been a while.
It felt perfect. It felt right. It was something that I had been waiting for quite some time.
Now, I got to ask you guys, let's keep it 100 here. How do your families feel about your relationships? Like, have there been any issues? Well, what do you say, Brittany?
My family, especially my mother, is not having it.
I mean, there's a reason why I haven't told you all about him, because he's in prison.
Oh,
girl. No. It was tough. It still is.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. My girl said the T-shirts that you guys had when you went and picked them up, she was like, that was just a really sweet, heartfelt thing to do. Was that your idea, the T-shirts, you belong here?
It was. And you know what? I got so much backlash about the T-shirts. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, we're from the South, and I felt that was like, it was a family reunion. I thought it was appropriate to have the shirts, welcome him. We're all together. We're a united front. You belong here, Ray. Welcome home.
I don't know why anybody's acting like there's ever been a black family reunion without matching T-shirts. That has never happened. It will never happen. If you see it, those are not real black folks. Those are cops. Now,
thank you.
Now, Rachel, now that you're living together, what if you had to teach him about the outside world that he wasn't used to in prison because he was gone for a little while?
I basically had to teach him about how to get a driver's license, how to use a smartphone, how to get a bank account, paying bills, doing chores around the house, being a responsible, productive member of society.
All right, well, this one's for both of you guys. What tip would you give people that are trying to help reacclimate convicts that have been released?
Just giving them a chance, believing in rehabilitation and redemption. Our prisons, they're really not structured around rehabilitation like we'd like to think. It's more punishment. That would be the best advice I can give anyone. Just support, just being prepared yourself.
It's empathy, opening and understanding that they came from a completely different lifestyle than what you and I are used to. Not having to be worried about just going to bed at night. Out here is completely different. So it takes time to get acclimated to the free world.
Well, Brittany and Rachel, you guys got to come back and keep us updated. But for today, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you guys. DBL Nation, do me a favor, do yourselves a favor. Don't miss Love After Lockup Fridays on WeTV. We'll be right back. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the 2 Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariane Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Welcome back to DBL. There is a hidden heart problem that's claiming the lives of men, and it's happening at an alarming rate. We're chatting about it on DBL's Focus on Fitness, presented by QB. We all know if you want a healthy heart, you need to work out. According to Men's Health, atrial fibrillation, also known as AFib, is killing more Americans than ever before. It's a heart rhythm disorder that increases your risk of having a stroke or a heart attack. Now, statistically, the numbers are higher among black men. So what can be done about the silent killer? Of course, always check in with your doctor. Eat a healthy, heart-healthy diet and exercise, exercise, exercise. Staying active is so important, and QB has made it easy, regardless of physical ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-782-2351 or visit qb.com to learn more. Before we go, really important, you guys, we want to say goodbye to one of our producers, Alexa.
We love
Honestly,
you, Alexa.
We love you so much.
We love you, girl.
Probably one of the most infectious, kind energy,
Yes. Wonderful
incredible
humans.
work ethic. You're going to do big things, and we wish you the best.
We love
Bye,
you, Alexa. Love you, girl.
Bye, all. Have a great weekend. See you Monday, same time, same place.
You got it.
Here's what we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Let the Summer Games begin! DBL Nation, are you excited about watching, or are this year's events already a big fail? Then, our Beyond the Medal series continues with history-making gymnast Gabby Douglas. She gets a 10, 10 out of 10. She landed! Plus, Morgan Wallin's first sit-down interview since he was caught using a racial slur.
So do you understand why it makes black people so upset?
And actor Emil Hirsch has the scoop on his favorite A-list co-stars.
He's absolutely hysterical, and he's got a great sense of humor.
Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Oh my gosh, we're already off to a good start over here. Welcome to DBL. It is Friday, July 23rd. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Erica, and Tori. Let's get started. So, the Tokyo Games are officially underway, but it's a lot different than the past years, and people don't seem as excited as usual. The opening ceremony was meant to unite and inspire people after isolation due to COVID, but the Parade of Nations took place before an empty stadium. Even so, organizers tried to make the opening ceremonies exciting and used more than 1,800 drones to form a giant rotating Earth. Only 950 people got to watch the ceremony in person. And the Tokyo Games are being called the loneliest games ever, with no spectators and in front of 70,000 empty seats. The opening ceremonies weren't a celebration for everyone, though. Hundreds of people gathered outside to protest the games, concerned that they will turn into a super spreader event. More than 100 people at the games have already tested positive. Okay, so Jeff, what did you, one, think of the empty stadium? We've never seen that before. It felt apocalyptic to me. And then what did you think of the protest?
Okay, there's a couple things to unravel here. The protest, those are exactly the idiots on Twitter that write to you about how you're living your life. They don't want to spread COVID, but they're all together in a group. It makes no sense. It's ironic. I want to focus on the positive. That globe, that was impressive.
Was it?
Yes.
Those were all drones.
Oh, that gave me chills.
That was super cool.
Did we all watch the Beijing Olympics to see how wonderful? I mean, I think this was a little.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at how cool. Those are
I
all
thought that was
drones.
incredible.
That's very impressive.
I like the Olympics.
That's very impressive. I'm very excited about that. My boss just told me to relax a little bit.
I think he was telling me. No, I think he was telling me.
I thought it was me because I get very excited.
I was excited with you.
Okay, thank you. It's Friday. We got to get a little excited. But as far as the empty seats, people are like, this is the loneliest ever. They're putting on the games. We're trying to move forward and get past this pandemic. The UFC went with nobody in the stands. They still competed. They still fought.
Basketball.
We could do that with the Olympics too. Got to have the cup half full. We got to look at things with the cup half full.
Well, also remember what the mood and the ideas were like for athletes last year. You know, like you train your entire life for something and it's just postponed out of nowhere. Like that's just got to be mentally debilitating. And the fact that we're even getting this, like maybe it wasn't as grand as the Beijing Olympics, which apparently was the creme de la creme according to Tori. Okay,
they were.
Nothing touches Beijing.
No, the drummers, y'all remember?
Yeah. But I think for what it was and under the circumstances, I think that this is a major world celebration that they're even able to congregate in this way, and they're trying to do it as safely as possible. This is going to be the litmus test for so many things internationally as how they'll be handled post-COVID. So I think that this is a wonderful thing. And I love the globe, too. I mean,
okay, let me just say this. I love the globe. Okay, let me just say one thing.
Don't say you love the globe.
Yeah,
you said you didn't.
I liked the globe. Fair. Here's the thing. I wish they just would have waited a year. Because I think this is a bad idea.
Tell that to the athletes, though.
Right.
So wait a year because I'm worried more about your life than your athletic competition. Yes.
Tori Shulman.
You think 1 year is going to make someone who's a great athlete?
Are you kidding me? Have you ever competed?
You think 1 year will make someone absolutely not be able to be in the Olympics?
Okay. Let me talk, because this is, listen, these athletes have, coming from a former athlete who was at the Olympic level, these athletes have poured in their blood, sweat, and tears to compete. Now, the ones that got canceled a year ago, a lot of them aren't able to go now because you have to still qualify in the Olympic trials for the Olympics. Depending on the sport, top 1 and 2 people. So even if you're the #1 person in the world for 5 years in a row, if you don't compete a few months ago at your best level at the Olympic trials, you're not going. So the people that may have qualified last year aren't the same ones that got to go this year.
Which I hear
now,
you.
as far as the COVID goes, I totally agree with you, but don't take that away from the athletes. If anything, maybe mandate the vaccine. Maybe there's exceptions for those that can't be vaccinated because of circumstances we're not aware of. However, though, I don't think that you can tell athletes to postpone it yet another year just because there's not people.
And she's
in
a
the
drone
stands.
globe hater.
First of all, I just want to say this. The reason I love athletes, I'm looking out because you guys are like, this, you can't miss a year.
So
I'm worried
the vaccine.
Wait, let me finish. I'm worried about their lives. And that to me is more important. I think this bringing everybody in from all different countries is the exact thing Fauci is saying we don't do. And now people, like Jeff said, are protesting it, bringing even more people. People in Tokyo don't want these games.
Don't you think they could have done it similar to the NBA in a bubble? They could have. So maybe.
But have a year to organize it and do it right.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
You're concerned about their lives, but you also need to consider their mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever run into someone or known someone intimately who's been a lifelong athlete and their career is over, those like next few years are very delicate. So what
But I'd
happens
rather them
to
have those
someone-
years than be sick.
Right, but you don't understand then.
Yeah.
Because that is their life. You know, think
I
that-
hear you both. I do. I just think.
What about
I wish
me?
it was. You didn't say anything. I just wish we were all doing it a little more
I agree
organized.
with that.
Yeah.
That I can agree with you.
Okay.
That
was sexist, and she's a globe hater.
She did say she hated the globe.
I did.
And
say
men, pretty
that.
much. She just ignored my points.
You said nothing, Jeff.
Okay, so continuing on with the Olympics, some of the year's competing athletes defy age norms. Australian equestrian and grandmother Mary Hannah is proving that age is just a number. She's 66, you guys. She's a grandma, and this is her 7th time participating in the games. Look at her. But get this, the youngest person competing in Tokyo is Syrian table tennis player Hen Zaza. She's just 12 years old. And I know we don't have the picture of Amanda Beard, but I was hoping we could have it because if you remember in 96, and I described the picture because then you'll remember, she was like 13, maybe 14, but had just turned 14. But you remember she was carrying around her teddy bear everywhere? She was a swimmer, so of course I know her. But that juxtaposition, because the pressure of the world stage at 12 or 13, and then you see an Olympian carrying around her teddy bear, that's what it reminded me of. But at 12, what were you doing at 12?
Not going to the Olympics, I'll tell you that. Not even close. But yeah, I think if you grow up in that atmosphere or grow up with parents like that and you get to see the next level competition, it really has an impact on you, and obviously it does.
And if you start young, right?
Yeah.
I think I would have handled a lot of things far better at 12 than I do at 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a very fearless child. You know, like I would just do things. People were like, okay, just let her do it. Because you don't understand ramifications
I kind of
things.
with you.
So it's like, you know, ignorance is bliss in that respect, and I mean that very respectfully.
Yeah, I just remember at 12, I had no concept of boys and girls at that point. I was just becoming into it. So I had the asymmetrical haircut, the sports goggles, and the double retainer. And life was just like, cool. Like I just enjoyed, really. I had no concept of.
What was Tori's hobbies?
I like to play make-believe. I like to do a lot of bicycle riding, and we would make potions and things.
That's really cool.
Because we didn't have phones. I'm telling you, this is an analog kid's life. You play in the dirt. You go out till the street lights come on. What?
I know, it sounds like a very exciting childhood.
Thank you.
Can we have a picture? Please? Can we have a picture of Tori?
You should write a book.
Well, I think growing up without any expectations on you
Oh.
and technology makes for a really fearless kid childhood. You didn't have to worry. It was lovely.
I'll just push back a little bit, even though I agree that at 12 it may be ignorance is bliss, but at the same time, we heard Summer Sanders say you got to be in the zone. You can be in the best shape of your life. If you go there and you're not mentally stable enough to picture yourself on the podium, you'll freeze up, no matter what shape you're in. So I pray that this 12-year-old is like a little Erica Cobb and kills it and takes home a gold. Coming up on DBL, Morgan Wallen's first sit-down interview since he was caught using a racial slur. Does he own up to it? And our interview with actor Emil Hirsch. Find out the A-list co-star he says is the funniest on set. Plus Dr. Coley, she's here in the studio clearing up COVID confusion. Is it time to mask up again?
Closed captioning provided by
Hi, DBL Nation. Happy Friday. Ooh, we're having a little technical difficulties over here. I hope you can hear me. It is Kelly Schubert here with the DBL Digital team. Let's go ahead and make our way up to the desk as we get ready for Dr. Coley. She is going to answer all our questions about coronavirus. How are you guys doing?
And we're going to talk
up here?
about how globophobia is impacting Tori's life.
First of all, watch this. Not only am I getting made fun of, I'm also getting kicked out for Dr. Coley, who's almost better than I am on the show. My bosses agree.
Almost?
All right, okay. No, I'm saying she should take a panelist side.
Yes, I'm glad I told you all to keep the volume down.
I know, right?
Oh yeah, so so Bert was very sensitive. That was nice that you did come up to, I didn't need it, but he said the calm down was the volume. But I understood the note. But if you say calm down to like a woman, I
don't think calm down bothers
Bert tells me to calm down all the time.
What's the difference between, if I'm like, hey, you gotta calm down a
Because
little
he's
bit.
my
like,
boss.
you gotta relax a little
He's
bit.
my boss.
What's the difference?
He's my boss.
No, I'm saying, she just said.
In the history of people telling you to calm down, no woman has ever calmed down.
Sam's
I
giving
totally agree with Sam. Yeah, I totally agree with Sam. Relax.
Wait,
It's just
no
like,
one heard you because Tori jumped in front of you.
So we were saying that to Jeff's point, calm down and relax mean the same thing.
Right.
I don't know why relax is more triggering to me. Maybe
Same with me.
because in the past, the people that were like relax
Yes.
use that word and not calm down.
And you're not
Is it the
saying it like
tone?
that.
Yes,
either.
it's the tone.
What if I'm like, listen, you
Yeah.
gotta calm down, or if I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, you gotta relax.
Tone. It's all tone.
But if I like relax,
Yes.
Yes.
or, but
Agreed.
so if I go, you gotta calm down.
Yeah,
it's
Yes.
the same.
It's the same
He's right.
thing. Yeah. It's all tone. I
Unfortunately,
think
in
you're
the past,
exactly
they've
right.
been synonymous
Yes.
with a lot of
I
women.
totally agree
It's
with you.
never like, hey, relax, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
In the past,
It's
at
like,
least,
relax.
Yeah, it's more like, whoa, relax.
Yeah.
Are you on your period?
Yeah, totally. That is what
You
it's
went,
like.
"Whoa."
Wait, what's the Nick Cage one?
That's it. But she went, whoa.
DBL Nation, happy Friday. Dr. Coley is coming up next. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to DBL. As much as we'd like to put the pandemic behind us, the variants and recent rise in COVID-19 cases continue to cause major concern. And our medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is here to help keep us up to date with the latest information. Okay, so Dr. Kohli, thank you so much for being here. And a lot of our viewers are confused. So we need you to clarify. What's driving right now the increase in COVID-19 cases?
You know, we have created the perfect recipe for cases to go up. So think about it. Vaccination rates have dropped off. There's a new, more contagious version of the virus, and the masks have come off. So it's literally like driving your car with the accelerator and no brakes.
Scary.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Kohli, with the potential need for a booster for people who are vaccinated, people who aren't vaccinated might say the vaccine's not even working against this new variant. Could you explain that?
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. So the booster is really just meant to sort of, it's almost like going to the gym for our immune system. It's meant to flex its muscle. It's meant to teach it the new variant and how to fight it a little bit better. That doesn't mean that the vaccine is not working against the variant. It just means we need to boost the response that we have.
Let me have a follow-up question as well.
Please.
For somebody on the fence, because we talk about this a lot on our show, you're not going to change somebody's mind that doesn't ever want to get that vaccine, right? But for somebody that's on the fence that might have had a family member or close friend, what would you tell them to push them over that edge to say, you're going to want to get this vaccine?
I would say 99% of the deaths that are occurring right now are in unvaccinated individuals. This has become the pandemic of the unvaccinated. And if those unvaccinated individuals met us halfway and got the vaccine, we'd be done. We'd be done with those masks. We'd be done with the social distancing. We'd be done with the restrictions.
Wow. Okay, so you know what my follow-up question is going to be, because this has been the #1 thing people have been saying to me. There are people who got the vaccine and they're still getting COVID. So, I mean, and that's the thing. So how do you combat that? But also, is it necessary to go back to masks because of that reason?
So great point and great question. We know that no vaccine is 100%. We expect some breakthrough cases. But using that argument is sort of like saying seatbelts don't work because people can still get injured in car accidents. Seatbelts dramatically reduce the risk of dying in a car accident. But yes, you can still have injury, and that's exactly what's happening. So there are some breakthrough cases that are occurring in the community, but they're occurring because there's so much virus. They're not occurring because the vaccines are failing.
And for some of the people, the few people that are getting the breakthrough cases, they're more likely to be asymptomatic or less symptoms, right? They're not the ones that are being hospitalized in the ICU.
That's exactly right. In fact, we're thinking we're even underdiagnosing the number of breakthrough cases because a lot of people don't even have symptoms when they get a breakthrough case, which is really what we wanted all along with this vaccine, was to turn it from a deadly condition to something like the flu that you can get. You can, still live with your life and not have any consequences like your poor Eric does.
I know, which you've been an absolute lifesaver for our family. But somebody wrote in yesterday, and it actually broke my heart because they were saying, I'm sick and tired of being lumped in, and I'm just paraphrasing. I'm sick and tired of being lumped into people that can't get the vaccine or won't get the vaccine. I can't get the vaccine. And I don't know this woman's circumstances, but can you elaborate how all of us hopefully getting the vaccine with herd immunity, it protects people like her or our children or Eric who can't get the vaccine because of his double lung transplant?
We are the shield, you guys. We're the shield for people who can't yet get the vaccine, like our kids under 12, or the people who can't ever get the vaccine because of their medical conditions. And if the virus can't find a host, it's going to die out. By not getting vaccinated, we're giving it the opportunity to find a host. And by putting those masks on, we are preventing it from spreading as efficiently as you had said, Erica.
Even if you're vaccinated, should you be wearing masks?
This is different now, and the answer is yes. So, I never took my mask off, ever. But for a lot of my patients, I told them, if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask. But now that we have so many Delta cases, that mask needs to come back on just for the time being.
All right. Wow. You heard it from our doctor here. If you have a question about coronavirus you want answered by Dr. Coley, write us on social media. You can also email info@dailyblastlive.com. We will be right back.
Increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, with 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Welcome back to DBL. Actor Emile Hirsch is best known for movies like Into the Wild and The Girl Next Door. Earlier, Lindsay Torrey and I spoke with Emile about his new movie, and we get the scoop on the Hollywood legends he's worked with. That's today's Chatting with the Stars. Emile, welcome to DBL. So you're a busy man. Midnight in the Switchgrass isn't your only movie release this year. And on top of that, this spring you released an album. But I've heard you don't like actors who do music, even though that's exactly what you're doing. So what makes Emile the unicorn?
Well, I don't know that I am the unicorn. you know, traditionally, whenever I hear an actor making an album or doing music, I listen to it and I usually don't like it.
I woke up falling yesterday.
But I always tell people, I'm like, you know, I like making music because I don't like actor music, and I do it despite that, like all the humiliation I'll put myself through it.
That's when you know you're really, really determined. All right, you've worked with some Hollywood legends like Sean Penn, Brad Pitt, Leo, we're super close, Leo DiCaprio, of course, and now Bruce Willis. Which is the funniest one on set? Like, which one do you just have the most fun with? And do you have any fun stories to spill?
Well, Leo is definitely the funniest. Really? He's absolutely hilarious. I mean, any of his comedic performances, like Wolf of Wall Street, he's absolutely hysterical, and he's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, that's hands down Leo's the funniest. That's not even close, I'd say.
And by Tori saying she's close with Leo, she means she saw him.
I saw him like down the street once. So we were close in proximity, Emil. Come on now. Is there an actor though or actress you're dying to work with next? Is there someone you've always had on your bucket list?
I've always wanted to work with Meryl Streep. I know everybody says that, but I have. I saw her do a radio play that Charlie Kaufman wrote at UCLA probably like 12 years ago, and it was just so interesting, and I feel like she's like the best, so I think that would be a blast to work with Meryl Streep.
Well, actually, I am Meryl Streep.
Wow. Sorry, Emil. We apologize.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Midnight in the Switchgrass. So this movie is sure to have everyone on the edge of their seats. So what did you love most about your role in this film?
So my character is Byron Crawford. He's a homicide detective who's been trying to solve these unsolved murders.
Some people, they just think that the girls, you know, the hookers and the druggies, they got what they had coming.
What do you believe?
Hard luck in life don't make you any less of a human.
I just didn't want it to be like, you know, another, you know, chip on his shoulder atheist cop or something like that. I wanted you to really I wanted to get to the meat of what motivated this guy. So it really felt like a good versus evil kind of movie, you know?
And Emil, you seem very particular about the roles you choose, about your method of doing things. So how do you get into a role?
I've done it like every way. I've done, you know, where I just show up and I make it up on the spot. Wow. And then I've done things where I'm sitting around researching forever and I feel like I'm, you know, in a college course or something. I've tried it all ways, and I sort of enjoy not having any particular set system. It sort of makes it more fun for me.
Smart.
One of the last movies I did, I worked in Guatemala, and I wrapped this movie on a Saturday, and I flew on Sunday, and then I had another movie that I started on a Monday.
Oh, Lord.
And it was like, I was just like flying international, and then I landed and I did a wardrobe fitting, and then I show up on Monday and Kate Bosworth's looking at me like, hi. And I'm like, hey, okay, action. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But I have to say, like, I love that.
It sounds freeing, and I think now when viewers watch you in your roles, we can kind of see, wow, this is him like completely improvising to a degree, which just speaks to your talent. So viewers, Midnight in the Switchgrass opens in theaters, on demand, and digital today. Emil, thank you so much for joining us. You'll have to come back one day. We'll be right back.
Yes. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the 2 Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariane Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Monday on DBL, a woman born into a family on the run.
We were stopped by armed soldiers with guns for trying to cross the border.
How she went from international fugitive to fashion model. That's Monday on DBL.
Welcome back to DBL. So earlier we talked about Tori as a kid. I believe we have
boy.
a pick. Do we? We have a pick?
You guys.
That's not bad.
Okay, this is one.
You're adorable.
Okay, there's the asymmetrical bowl
Your hair's
cut.
well, that was in back then.
No, it really
yes,
wasn't.
It was.
No, people just didn't know who I was.
Tori, you're adorable. You
What's the
painted a
problem?
much more amplified version.
What I meant is there was no idea that aesthetics were important. I just wanted to like play and be me, and it was great.
You look like a lovely 12-year-old child
I didn't really-
who is actually 12 as opposed to like 24 looking.
Yeah. No,
What's
that's
Jeff
fair.
thinking?
I don't want to get canceled.
If you're leaving us, you can watch the second half of the show on Facebook or YouTube, but if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. Kanye West launched his new music, but there seems to be one problem. Fans can't listen to it. So where is the album? And Morgan Wallin sits down for his first interview since he was caught using a racial slur. Does he deserve a comeback?
This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2. Welcome to DBL. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Erica, and Tori. Let's get started. So Morgan Wallin is speaking out about being caught on camera using a racial slur. The country star sat down with GMA's Michael Strahan to talk about that night in February where he was filmed rather calling one of his friends the N-word. Watch.
In our minds, it's playful, you know. I don't know if that sounds ignorant, but that's really where it came from. We were all clearly drunk, and I was asking his girlfriend to take care of him because he was drunk and he was leaving. I didn't mean it in any derogatory manner at all.
There are a lot of people going to say, okay, we've been drunk. We never used the word. Even when you're drunk, there are certain things you do and you don't do. What made you think that the word was ever appropriate to use?
I'm not sure. I think I was just ignorant about it. I don't think I sat down and was like, hey, is this right or is this wrong?
But Michael Strahan pushed back and asked him if he understands the history behind that word. Take a listen.
I've been called it. Makes you mad, makes you angry, doesn't make you feel good at all. So do you understand why it makes black people so upset?
I don't know how to put myself in their shoes because I'm not, you know. But I do understand it, especially when I say that I'm using it playfully or whatever, ignorantly. I understand that must sound, you know, like he doesn't understand.
After the incident, Morgan was dropped by his label and his talent agency, but his sales of his album and his songs did spike. Morgan said he would be donating proceeds from the spike in sales, roughly $500,000 to black organizations. Now, Morgan also said he's been working with the Black Music Action Coalition and spent 30 days in rehab. But here's the thing, so far he's the best-selling artist in 2021, according to Rolling Stone magazine, so clearly not canceled, Erica. But I want to go back to the interview. First of all, I thought Michael Strahan did a great job. We're not used to seeing him as the interviewer. I thought he did fantastic. What did you make of Morgan's responses to Michael?
Well, you know, I'm not surprised by any of the responses. We live in a very segregated society, no matter how people want to make it seem like we're all one, kumbaya. The truth is, he likely had never had anyone, as many times as he's used it, and make no mistake about it, I think based on that interview, we can assume that he's used it multiple times, and no one has ever corrected him or said that it was inappropriate. Like, I always look at the diversity of the community around me, because there are times where I am ignorant of things in terms of social rules, norms, mores. When you're in an insulated society willfully, and no one is going to check you on things that are egregious, that's what happens.
But Erica, what if people did check him and he just didn't care until he got the social pushback?
It doesn't matter if the person that's checking you don't have that type of regard for. And this is not to excuse what he did by any means. I'm just telling you that this is what it is. The fact that he sat down with Michael Strahan to have this conversation, I think that Michael Strahan was a very appropriate person to have that conversation with, and he likely sat down with him and chose that interview because he was someone that he held in a higher regard. But people need to really wake up. I kept saying, you know, we're so used to racism being so covert, and in the past 4 or 5 years, it's been very overt, and people have to make a decision about who they want to be and who they want this world to be. And if you're protecting all of your ignorance in order to protect the people around you who you likely love and might hold to a high standard, then that's a mistake, because the world will progress without you.
Yeah. Do you think he's sorry, Morgan? Do you think Morgan's remorseful?
I can't tell you what's in his heart. I really can't, but I can tell you that the fact that his album spiked is not shocking to me at all.
It was really sad. I just thought, my God, how he didn't look apologetic at all. He looked dumb, in my opinion. I hate to say this, but so ignorant. Then read up on some things before an interview with Michael Strahan. Then educate yourself. Then take that responsibility. I don't know. Well, I do know, and I think you should know better. And I just thought that was really ill-prepared, to be super honest, with an interview. Now, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe what you're saying, he's rather protect what you said, the people around him and his community, than care. But it showed.
Maybe he does care, and it's that, and again, I'm not sticking up for him, but he is from that small town. He is from where people in that area, and again, I'm just being, I'm painting this with a broad brush, use that word and they have no repercussions for it. They say it and they don't know what it means, and they do need to educate themselves. Is this an eye-opener, an awakening, maybe to people who do live in those small communities, do use that word, and they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't use that word?
But I don't think that anyone that is of sound mind doesn't know what the word means.
I'm not making an excuse. Yeah.
No. But I think it also lends itself to the conversation about critical race theory. How are you to teach young people about the history of America and why these things are so historically contextualized and so important when they go home and they hear the same thing? So basically, you're teaching them that their parents or grandparents or whoever they look up to are ignorant and are a part of the problem at school, and then they go back home. I understand why people are so up in arms about teaching the actual history of America.
Wow. Yeah, well, good conversation. Kanye West held a bizarre listening party for his long-awaited album, Donda. The album is named after Kanye's late mother, Donda West, who died in 2007. 42,000 fans paid between $20 and $100 to attend the party in Atlanta. It was also live streamed on Apple Music, but get this, Kanye showed up more than two hours late. He was wearing a full face mask, but didn't say anything to the crowd. He apparently just moved around the floor while his music played over the speakers. Now, at one point, Kanye appeared to get emotional during his song Love Unconditionally, where he raps about losing his family. His ex, Kim Kardashian, was also there, along with their 4 kids. She posted this video from the event on Instagram, but as of the taping of this show, his new album is nowhere to be found on Apple Music, Spotify, or any other streaming platforms. I believe that's all purposeful.
It's great.
Exactly.
Brilliant. It's a marketing strategy that's brilliant. Where is it? We wanted more now. It couldn't be more supply and demand. Now people are demanding more of the supply. It's great. I can't get over it. It's brilliant.
There may also be some technical reasons as to why as well. Well, from my understanding, via the experts on Twitter, Jay-Z had just completed his track 4 hours before this listening party began, and some of the tracks seemed a little cold or raw, so there might be more going into it. So this may have been a teaser. I love the fact that he named this, and his inspiration was Dr. Donda West. She was an incredibly special woman. I did not know her well or personally. I did sit next to her at Oprah, and she talked to me the whole time, and I got to interview her. She reminded me so much of my mother. She just was incredibly special, and I know that ever since she passed away, you know, I could only imagine what would happen.
He hasn't been the same.
Right.
I really liked seeing Kim and their kids there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They really do take care of their families. Whatever you want to say about the Kardashians, they're there to support their family members, even if they're not there with them. Kanye is such an interesting person to me. Like, he fascinates me. If I went to a concert and they didn't sing, I'd be like, what's going on here? But if it's Kanye, you're like, that's so artistic of him. And I always say this about Kanye, like, there's that level of genius, artistic genius, and insanity. And he walks that line, but he's brilliant. Look at the marketing strategy. Now I want to tune into that.
Right, me too. You really quickly, before we go, you were very quick to criticize people attending the Olympics, but not to attend this concert. Why? No, I'm curious.
Very good point. Double standard. I should have been more careful about that. I'm glad he was in a mask. I hope more people were masked, but I wish.
He was in nylon.
He was in a mask.
He's still in a mask. I just wish they'd have been vaccinated. You had to show proof, and maybe they did. I don't know.
Maybe they did. We don't know. All right, coming up on DBL, two women from the show Love After Lockup tell us what it was really like pursuing relationships with men behind bars. And our Beyond the Medal series continues with Gabby Douglas. Our interview with the history-making gymnast is next.
Closed captioning provided by
Hi, DBL Nation. Happy Friday. Ooh, we're having a little technical difficulties over here. I hope you can hear me. It is Kelly Schubert here with the DBL digital team. Let's go ahead and make our way up to the desk as we get ready for Dr. Coley. She is going to answer all our questions about coronavirus. How are you guys
And
doing
we're going to talk
up here?
about how globophobia is impacting Tori's life.
First of all, watch this. Not only am I getting made fun of, I'm also getting kicked out for Dr. Coley, who's almost better than I am on the show. My boss is agreeing. All right, okay. No, I'm saying she should take a panelist side.
Yes, I'm glad I told you all to keep the volume down.
I know, right?
Oh yeah, so the calm, so Bert was very sensitive. That was nice that you did come up to, I didn't need it, but he said the calm down was the volume. But I understood the note. But if you say calm down to like a woman,
I don't think calm down bothers
Bert tells me to calm down all the time.
what's the difference between, if I'm like, hey, you gotta calm down a
Because
little
he's my
bit. Like,
boss.
you gotta relax a little
He's
bit.
my boss.
What's the difference?
He's my boss.
No, I'm saying, she just said.
In the history of people telling you to calm down, no woman has ever calmed down.
Wait, Sam's
I totally agree with Sam. Yeah, I totally agree with Sam. Relax.
Wait,
It's just
no
like,
one heard you because Tori jumped in front of you.
So we were saying that to Jeff's point, calm down and relax mean the same thing. I
Right.
don't know why relax is more triggering to me. Maybe
Same with me.
because in the past, the people that were like relax
Yes.
use that word and not calm down.
And you're not
Is it the
saying it like
tone?
that.
Yes,
either.
it's the tone.
What if I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, you gotta calm down, or if
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, you gotta relax.
Tone. It's all tone.
But if I like relax,
Yes.
Yes.
or, but
Agreed.
so if I go, you gotta calm down.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
the same.
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's all tone. I think
in
you're
the past
exactly
they've
right.
been synonymous
Yes.
with a lot of
I
women.
totally agree
It's
with you.
never like, hey, relax, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
In the past,
It's
at
like,
least,
relax.
Yeah, it's more like, whoa, relax.
Yeah.
Are you on your period?
Yeah, totally. That is what
You
it's
went,
like.
"Whoa."
Wait, what's the Nick Cage one?
That's it. But you went, whoa.
DBL Nation, happy Friday. Dr. Coley is coming up next. Stay tuned.
Well, as you know, the Summer Games have officially kicked off, and we're catching up with one of the Fierce Five, honey. In today's Beyond the Medal, we talked to Gabby Douglas, and nothing about it is routine. Take a look.
Her mom always used to say, inspire a generation. And that's exactly what Gabby Douglas did at just 16 years old. Gabby was the first African American to become the individual all-around champion at the 2012 Summer Games in London. As an adrenaline junkie, it's no surprise that she took the zest for life and applied it to gymnastics. Gabby Douglas is a 3-time gold medalist, and she taught us all that there's no I in team.
Yes, we're here with American gymnast and gold medalist. Yes, honey. Gabby Douglas. Thank you so much for coming on DBL. Gabby.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is our honor. Now, we can't wait to hear about the Unjunk Your Sleep tour, but first, let's talk Summer Games. You were the first African American to win you were the first African American to win an individual gold medal. Walk us through that moment at the podium. What was going through your mind, because we can all remember what was going through ours.
Oh my goodness, it was like a dream come true. It was like a Hollywood ending, like a Disney, a Disney movie where everything, the outcome works, and it was it was so successful. And honestly, it was just like I literally had a flashback standing up on the podium, and I was like, all the hard work, the training, the blood, sweat, and tears, like all the adversity, the opposition, all the challenges I had to overcome and face, and I just thought, like, this is my life. Like, this is not even a medal. Like, this is my life. And it was just such a phenomenal feeling.
I love that she thinks it's like Bluebirds came in at the end and gave her the medal. It's a Disney ending, Gabby. All right. Now, tonight, right, athletes are participating in the opening ceremonies, and you were there. We want to know, what is it like to be there with all the teams? Is it like exhausting, or is it super exhilarating?
We were never allowed to actually perform or even engage in the opening ceremonies, because we compete right after that. So we honestly had to just be in bed, and we could watch a little bit on the TV, but we weren't really allowed to participate. You know, we had to I missed the opening ceremonies twice because I've been so grateful to be a part of both Olympics in 2012 and 2016, but you know, we weren't allowed to participate.
So interesting.
So, Gabby, earlier this week, gymnast alternate Kara Eaker caught COVID, and now she can't compete. So, how do you think this will affect the Team USA going forward into the competition?
I have so much respect, and I applaud these athletes during this time, because it is so hard and so difficult. Not only do you have to train, but also too, there's a pandemic going on, and now you have to social distance, and now you have to be careful who you're around, who you touch, what you touch. And then there's a case like this where you can't compete, and you know, as girls and you know, as women, this is our dream. This is what we were born to do. This is what we put in so much hours into our craft, and you know, to not be able to do what you love is honestly heartbreaking.
So disappointing. Well, sis, you know, we know champions like you are not made overnight. So what was a typical training day like for you? And can you spill what some of your go-to cheat foods were while competing?
Yes. So a day in the life of Gabby Douglas while training was boring, honestly, if I can say. The process is the same thing every day, because our bodies, we really need to do the same thing every day, and with anything, because it's muscle memory, and we want to make sure that when we go out to compete, it is like second nature. It is just like walking. And so every single day it's the same thing. But my cheat meals would be definitely something carby, like pasta, pizza.
Yeah. That's my every meal, Gabby.
Potatoes, yeah.
Okay, Gabby, with the Tokyo Summer Games roughly 16 hours ahead of the U.S., what impact could that have on athletes and their need to adjust their sleep in order to perform? I know if I don't get any sleep, I can't perform, and I'm not an athlete. So how can you unjunk your sleep to help? Because you need to talk about that.
Our bodies, our muscles, our minds, we definitely need more sleep as human beings, because we're not getting enough of it. And I'm so grateful to be here with Mattress Firm to talk about how to unjunk your sleep. And Mattress Firm is actually kicking off its Unjunk Your Sleep tour. They're going to have experts come and teach you how to unjunk your sleep. They're coming to Houston, Detroit, and New York City. So I recommend just going to junksleep.com for more info.
Thank you so much for coming on, DBL.
Thank you guys so much. You all are so sweet. All the best, and have a good day, you guys.
She gets a 10. 10 out of 10.
Yes.
She landed. The dismount.
Thank you, sis. We'll be right back.
Landing.
Bye.
Increases in COVID cases and hospitalizations has some health experts calling for the return of face masks. So will the CDC change its message on masks? Let's connect the dots. Back in May, vaccination rates were high and case counts were low. The Center for Disease Control declared it was safe for fully vaccinated people to toss their masks in most settings. We all know what happened next. Vaccine rates slowed down and the Delta variant hit hard. Health experts say the CDC decision was backed up by science, but unfortunately not human behavior. That led to unvaccinated and unmasked individuals fueling the spread of the contagious Delta variant. Now, White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says fully vaccinated people might want to consider putting the mask back on. While the vaccines are effective, they don't offer 100% protection. Dr. Fauci says if the vaccinated want added protection, they can wear a mask indoors, especially in crowded places. Despite that new recommendation, experts say it's unlikely there will be a nationwide mask mandate because the pushback would be extreme. Instead, with 99.5% of all U.S. COVID deaths now being unvaccinated people, the focus will be on more people getting the shot.
Welcome back to DBL. For Love After Lockups, Rachel and Lindsay, not even federal prison stands in the way of their love for their husbands. Earlier, Al spoke to these ladies about pairing up with prisoners in today's DBL Spotlight.
Rachel and Brittany, welcome to DBL. Now, first and foremost, Brittany, I'm going to start with you, my dear. Now, look, the world saw you with Mr. You Have the Right to Remain Silent, but you saw Mr. Right. What was it that you saw?
I saw a wonderful man. I mean, he's just a good person altogether. It was easy for me to see past his criminal history and that where he resided at the time, which was in federal prison.
Now, Rachel, I'm coming to you now, girl. Now, Doug's actually the second convicted felon that you've been in a committed relationship. What attracts you to inmates versus like a gainfully employed engineer?
You know, I like the tattoo guy. I like the steamy relationship that's different.
Rachel seems very happy.
I'll walk outside.
But my gut made me sick from the minute I met him.
Now, when you picked up Doug, you know, let's just say that you hadn't made the marriage official yet. What was it like that first night when they got home? Like, what was it like getting together? I mean, it had been a while.
It felt perfect. It felt right. It was something that I had been waiting for quite some time.
Now, I got to ask you guys, let's keep it 100 here. How do your families feel about your relationships? Like, have there been any issues? Well, what do you say, Brittany?
My family, especially my mother, is not having it.
I mean, there's a reason why I haven't told you all about him, because he's in prison.
Oh, girl. No. It was tough. It still is.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. My girl said the T-shirts that you guys had when you went and picked them up, she was like, that was just a really sweet, heartfelt thing to do. Was that your idea, the T-shirts, you belong here?
It was. And you know what? I got so much backlash about the T-shirts. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, we're from the South, and I felt that was like, it was a family reunion. I thought it was appropriate to have the shirts, welcome him. We're all together. We're a united front. You belong here, Ray. Welcome home.
I don't know why anybody's acting like there's ever been a black family reunion without matching T-shirts. That has never happened. It will never happen. If you see it, those are not real black folks. Those are cops. Now,
thank you.
Now, Rachel, now that you're living together, what if you had to teach him about the outside world that he wasn't used to in prison because he was gone for a little while?
I basically had to teach him about how to get a driver's license, how to use a smartphone, how to get a bank account, paying bills, doing chores around the house, being a responsible, productive member of society.
All right, well, this one's for both of you guys. What tip would you give people that are trying to help reacclimate convicts that have been released?
Just giving them a chance, believing in rehabilitation and redemption. Our prisons, they're really not structured around rehabilitation like we'd like to think. It's more punishment. That would be the best advice I can give anyone. Just support, just being prepared yourself.
It's empathy, opening and understanding that they came from a completely different lifestyle than what you and I are used to. Not having to be worried about just going to bed at night. Out here is completely different. So it takes time to get acclimated to the free world.
Well, Brittany and Rachel, you guys got to come back and keep us updated. But for today, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you guys. DBL Nation, do me a favor, do yourselves a favor. Don't miss Love After Lockup Fridays on WeTV. We'll be right back. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Disqualified from an Olympic event because of natural testosterone levels? Namibia's Olympic Committee announced 2 of its top female runners won't be allowed to run in the 400-meter race. One of those runners, Christine Mboma, has the fastest 400-meter time in the world so far this year. So let's verify. Can a person be disqualified from an Olympic event because of their natural testosterone levels? Our sources are World Athletics and Namibia's Olympic Committee. In 2018, World Athletics, the governing body that oversees international track and field competitions, lowered the threshold for an acceptable level of natural testosterone for women. The rule only applies to races between 400 meters and 1 mile. World Athletics says the rule is about, quote, leveling the playing field to ensure fair and meaningful competition, end quote. Although the two Namibian runners can't run in the 400-meter race, they also qualified for the 200-meter sprint. And because the testosterone rule doesn't apply to shorter races, they'll be allowed to compete. So we can verify, yes, a person can be disqualified from some Olympic events because of their natural testosterone levels. With your Fast Facts, I'm Ariane Till.
Verify exists to get you the facts, and there's no shortage of confusion when it comes to vaccines. So let's verify this viewer question. If scientists were able to create effective COVID-19 vaccines so quickly, can we create one for the common cold? Our sources are Dr. Linda Naba, an infectious diseases expert from the University of Pittsburgh, and the CDC. Right off the bat, our experts say this is false. Scientists won't be able to create a vaccine for the common cold, and one reason is that targeting the right virus can be difficult.
There isn't one particular virus or bacteria, one particular infectious disease particle that causes the common cold. It's really caused by an umbrella of different viruses.
The COVID-19 vaccine targets a specific virus, SARS-CoV-2. According to Dr. Naba, another reason is the common cold just isn't that deadly, which means researchers are less likely to dedicate time and resources to preventing it. With your Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
Welcome back to DBL. There is a hidden heart problem that's claiming the lives of men, and it's happening at an alarming rate. We're chatting about it on DBL's Focus on Fitness, presented by QB. We all know if you want a healthy heart, you need to work out. According to Men's Health, atrial fibrillation, also known as AFib, is killing more Americans than ever before. It's a heart rhythm disorder that increases your risk of having a stroke or a heart attack. Now, statistically, the numbers are higher among black men. So what can be done about the silent killer? Of course, always check in with your doctor. Eat a healthy, heart-healthy diet and exercise. Staying active is so important, and QB has made it easy, regardless of physical ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-782-2351 or visit qb.com to learn more. Before we go, really important, you guys, we want to say goodbye to one of our producers, Alexa.
We love you, Alexa.
We love you so much. We love you, girl. Probably one of the most infectious, kind energy, wonderful incredible humans. Work ethic. You're going to do big things, and we wish you the best.
We love you, Alexa.
Love you, girl. Have a great weekend. See you Monday, same time, same place.
You got it.